Is it kicking it old school? Like, is it old school? Like, or is it like just kicking
I
it?
I have to say, so a couple nights ago, I'm hanging out in one of the chat room streams, and someone just makes a joke about like Rage
Mm.
Against the Machine, and I said like, "Well, you need to check out the Denzel Curry. You know, Denzel Curry's hip hop. You know, he's really a
Yeah.
rapper, but you need to hear the Denzel Curry cover of Bulls on Parade." And everyone acted like I was making a joke, and I'm not. I am not joking about that. And
I
so
mean, we
that
do.
sent me
Uh
on like a day and a half of just like trolling old videos of like hip hop head listens to Tool for the first time, reaction videos and stuff. And I'm usually not a react video kind of guy, but I just like
Rare.
I had to like watch people experience, and you can always tell the people that had really never heard Rage Against the Machine, and the people who are just like trying to put it on, like, "Whoa, this is like totally blowing my mind." And you're like, "No, that's fake. You've been prepping."
You've recorded this a few times, and it's not it's not the
Yeah,
legit reaction. It's more the
right.
how did I feel the first time, and let me see if I can come back with that emotional effect there.
Not good. But there are a few like you'll catch them like someone like hears Tool's Enema for the first time, and you're like, "Oh, they've never really heard Tool before." You can see it on their face. So stuff like that. I had
A
to
lot of
do
that
a
gets.
little nostalgic deep dive.
Yeah, you should do that on the. Well, I was going to say you could do it on one of those on the podcast when you're doing the chill podcast, but I don't know if Tool would be the chill part of the conversation. But
Not so much. I should react to people reacting
thing
to
yeah,
listening
exactly.
to Tool to the
There's,
first time, and I'd be like, I call BS. I say that person has heard Tool before.
I think you would have a good success reacting to other people reacting to other things that have
I
been around
agree.
for many generations. But
I'm really
with
good
that,
at critiquing people's reactions. So
I never picked that up on you. You never strike me as a
true story.
critiquing personality. Like you're just usually
Yeah,
kind of a chill kind of.
I'm
I
pretty mellow. Just go with the flow. Never have any
yeah.
feedback. Whatever.
No soapboxing. What? No.
No, perish the thought.
Oh my God! No way! No way! No. I mean, the reality. With that being said, welcome everybody to a very
Hey,
interestingly named show, the best of our week, where I'm going to try to do the intro because this is usually Juan's part of the conversation. Two old guys get together and just basically kick it and talk about tech and have really bad ways of entering or starting a show, like the way we do it every week.
we're
Um,
pretty awesome at
we
this.
are your co-hosts, Mr. Juan Bagnell. Sorry, on the other side of the show because he kind of pointed us right there, and Mr. Some audio guy,
Hello.
some gadget guy, and some what's it called, OnlyFans After Dark kind of guy, kind of all the good stuff. In
Wow.
case, well, hey, we're gonna keep it legit here, okay? All the links for Juan would be in the description below. Myself, TK Bay. We're back after another week of interesting. I mean, obviously, last week we talked about Unpacked. I had the opportunity to go and
hmm
attend, and I've been really, trying to put the S24 Ultra through its paces,
Right. So
and
you've done
then
your first impressions, all of the comparisons, your
I,
long-term review, your after the buzz,
uh-huh.
your end of life, and your final assessment. I mean, you've had days with the phone.
I've
Uh,
had literal. Dang, actually, not that I'm thinking about it. I've had literally 8 days with it.
yep.
If I
So
count the fact that I got it in the
I don't see
afternoon.
why you would need any more time. Everything should be completely finalized with a conclusion and
Absolutely.
ready to go.
No, it is done. It is buttoned up, done. I got the leather kit. No, I'm just kidding. I know it takes a little bit of time, and I really try to purposely not review something on the day it's supposed to be, like the day it's announced, like or the embargo date, because the reality of the matter is, software may not be final. Plus, you haven't had a chance to live with it. Really, the
hmm
device you haven't gone through its paces with it. Hit a few road bumps, issues, whatever. So,
Sure.
and then of course, in the middle of all of that, we have the OnePlus, announcement, and
Yeah.
we can finally talk about the OnePlus 12. It exists. It's there. It's no longer
We can
etherware.
finally turn the phone around so you can see the screen,
Wait, are
which
we
is
sure
pretty
about that?
great.
Can we do that? Is that
I'm
allowed on
pretty
the interwebs?
sure.
Like you
On
can turn on
one of
screens
them,
on one of
not on
them.
the other one.
No, I got the right one. I got the right one.
I have
It's
to like double check all the time because I have a table full of One Pluses over here,
well,
and
but
you're like,
yeah,
uh
and then
oh,
not
which
only
one did I
that,
just grab?
so my 12R is that light blue color, where the 12 is the green color.
I'm so jealous.
But
See,
I
I have to
wish.
be careful because my OnePlus 11 and my OnePlus 12R look very similar. So if I'm
Oh,
not careful which one I pick up, I could get in trouble.
you'd get calls and messages and DMs and people showing up at your door and they're like, "Open the door, Juan. We know you're in there. We saw the video. We know where you're posting from." No, I know it is absolutely. Oh my God, how do I explain the OnePlus 12? Um,
Well, where do we want to start? Because
I
here's
don't
the
know.
problem. Here's the problem. Here's the
There's a
problem.
problem. Okay, tell me.
Philosophically, I have
Philosophically.
been in 3 different conversations. One of them was on Easy's stream on
Okay.
yesterday. I
Hmm.
jumped in for a bit just to chat, and 2 are on podcasts that one of them I don't even think they're going to publish. The other one might be published later.
Okay.
Uh, where I was brought on specifically to
Hmm.
share my thoughts about the OnePlus 12, and all 3 of them became conversations about Samsung. How Samsung's not getting it done, or Samsung's feeling this pressure, or what do you think
Okay.
Samsung's going to scale on? And you're like, but I have the OnePlus 12 if you
They're
want to
like
talk about the one. Like,
it's debate and switch. Just like, hey, come for this, and then you're like, but wait a minute, hold on a second. Why am I?
now,
Yeah, no, I'm with
I
you.
know I can be a crank and I like to fixate on a couple of different topics, but man, when you're a Samsung focused channel and you have another phone to talk about, you don't talk about the other phone. You talk about
Samsung.
how is Samsung gonna react to this phone?
As
And you're like, oh,
Grant, I think
okay, I guess that's
said it
what we're in
perfectly
for.
today on Twitter. I forgot who said something like, "Why do people keep bringing up Samsung phones and other device reviews?" And Grant jumped
Yeah.
in and said, "SEO, the more you know."
SEO.
SEO,
You gotta get
baby.
them. You gotta get that ad revenue. So,
Yeah.
I would like to divide the work duties. You can focus on S24 Ultra because you're really using it.
Yeah.
We can both contribute to OnePlus 12.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I would like to see if we can talk about one phone in that phone segment and not like
Muddy the water the way
drift
they
and say like,
make
well, where
it.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about the OnePlus 12, let me tell you how much Apple sucks. And so I'm really going to try and be on my best behavior. And I'll get it out of the way now.
Oh,
The
sorry.
S24 Ultra is a different animal. So when
Hmm.
I'm comparing OnePlus against Apple and Samsung, I'm comparing them dollar for dollar. And I think Apple and Samsung are absolutely embarrassed at the price to performance and price to feature set that the OnePlus 12 can bring. The
Hmm.
S24 is a different conversation about productivity, has different features, is a completely different animal.
Hmm.
So I am not in this game. I have so many people, so many Samsung Knights, like, oh, I would take an S24 Ultra over this OnePlus 12. And you're like, cool, but those aren't the same kinds of devices, nor are they in the same price tier. So you're
Hmm.
not comparing oranges to oranges. If you compare oranges to oranges, Samsung is in a world of hurt with OnePlus's strategy this year. That is the comparison.
Hmm.
That's the blending that I would put out
And
there.
with the fact that
And then I
OnePlus,
feel
yeah.
I can separate them and now just talk about the devices individually.
I personally don't. I'm not. So I'll say this. As much as I'd love to say SEO, 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 I don't like putting two devices against each other. I don't. A lot of people love to do comparisons and
I
reviews
love
and
comparisons. There
well,
is
no,
no comparison between an S24 Ultra
well,
and a
no, 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 no.
OnePlus 12.
But
I would never genuinely recommend those 2 phones to the same consumer if I were really listening to their needs and wants.
oh, no, no, absolutely. It would not be
There
the same
isn't
recommendation.
anyone.
But
Yeah.
what I was leading into is generally not even just with OnePlus. If it's a Moto, if it's a Realme, if it's a Xiaomi, I try
Hmm.
to grade the phone for what it can do and what it
Sure.
cannot do. Because if I start comparing it to other devices, and I realize that we are in a different position to be able to play with different versions of devices and different, maybe we can get like the Redmis, right? We got the Redmi Note 13 Pro and 13 Pro Plus. There's two different versions, and I'm not trying to put them head to head. I'm trying to provide you the best point of view of where this device fits. Who is this device made for? So my
Hmm.
coverage, regardless what I do, if I'm covering the S24 Ultra in the videos, I never bring in another phone just to make it look, well, yeah, this is the iPhone 13 Pro Max is still better than the S. No, I don't do that. So for comparisons and stuff like that, if you're just doing a straight up camera comparisons and stuff, you're right. You should try to keep the comparison
Yeah.
in the mindset of what a consumer is considering when they're buying this phone. If
I
they're
mean, you
going
know
to
what I'm going
buy,
to say to that. I'm not going to argue with you, but I find there are very few people,
Mhm.
and I would put you on this list.
Sure.
I find there are very few people who take the time to familiarize themselves with an other brand
Yeah.
enough that so when they do an average consumer point and shoot photo comparison, they're really getting comparable results out of their framing and composition and their expectations from those devices. Like someone like Ben,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yep.
Grant, his photo comparisons were spot on, and you could really see that he was comfortable using both phones to a proficient degree. If
Hmm.
you live in an iPhone and you get a OnePlus for a week and you try to do this like side by side photo comparison, you are so raw on that OnePlus, you're not handling it the same way. You're thinking about operating the phone, you're not really composing for the shot.
Exactly.
Oh, I just put them on a tripod and I put them side by side. Well, then you don't have the same framing, and you don't have the same exposure. You don't have the same the same metering for that scene. You will get different results even if they're inches apart. So that's like I'm not into this like, well, but for average people should buy Pixel A and Galaxy A series. They should be buying inexpensive phones that have good cameras, definitely tackle all their needs, and they should save hundreds of dollars. So we're talking the premium and the ultra tier of devices today. I am actively trying to get more of my family
Hmm.
not to buy these phones because they are gross overkill for my family's budgets these days.
Well, and the fact that I'll probably say, from my perspective at least, the mid-range or what we are considering mid-range area
Sure.
has gotten so good
So good.
that it's crazy to consider the fact that that is mid-range. If that's the mid-range,
Oh,
then
yeah.
no, absolutely. I mean,
Oh, we're going to have so much to say about 12R soon.
oh my God. Okay, yeah. So the days, I'll say this, just out of the box, okay, spec-wise and features and whatever, the 12R is already making a very good case for itself.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, and I can't really, okay, forget about that part. The 12R that will have its day very soon. We'll say that. The 12 for me, and I think we
Well,
should at least, do you want
should we start with 12 or should we start with Samsung?
I feel like the
I'm
12,
good either way. You
I
want to
feel
start
like
with OnePlus?
the reason why I say this is, let's start with more of yeah, I think we should do 12. I think 12 is better
Okay.
first than 24 Ultra, because of the exactly shadow cameras. Juan with 4 cameras now, he's built different. That's how Juan is. Captain Jack.
Resistance is futile.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry.
OnePlus 12. This
OnePlus
is
12.
the best premium tier phone in the United States in 2024, and
Hands
I
down.
don't think anyone's going to touch it.
So I'm tempted to disagree with you on one point only, and I'll kick it off because I think I'm not sure.
Fight.
Okay. Did you hear the fact that OnePlus is going to be at Best Buys? They're going to be in retail
Yeah.
stores. Okay.
Well, yeah, the Open made its first trickles through Best Buy recently
like the
too.
12 and the R Captain one, they will be in store. I don't know how to say the R.
Like actual physical units will be in store for people to play with. Right.
Yes. With that, this is the biggest difference that what we didn't have in the past. In the past, OnePlus was trying to court, be
A sad,
with,
dusty corner in the back of a T-Mobile store.
Absolutely. No. You think you're joking, but that's not
No,
the lie.
that's
It is
why I'm
absolutely
laughing.
true. And you
Yeah.
walk into T-Mobile, and again, no pun against T-Mobile, whatever, but you could tell where their priorities are. Sam Apple is right in front of you. You're like plastered with that. Do you guys have OnePlus? Yeah, maybe next to the Pixel in the back. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, that relationship kind of worked for a little bit with T-Mobile, and don't get me wrong, OnePlus is still compatible with all the carriers in the US. There is no question. The thing about it though is having them in Best Buy locations. It is the utmost smartest thing they've done, other than obviously the design and the technology in the phone, because that's where people go. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, people will go to carriers, and 9 times out of 10. But the people that really want to go shopping and they're trying to experiment with other brands, this is where the OnePlus devices, like if they put in this OnePlus, the green, the emerald one, no Samsung, no Apple has these colorways. No Samsung has this texture, the design.
The phone section at Best Buy is that island setup where you can't just. I mean, obviously, you're going to walk into this horseshoe shape, and Samsung and Apple are going to greet you first, and you'll probably encounter Pixel next. But
Typically,
if
yep.
they have actual physical units in there, then at some point it's going to be easier to see what OnePlus is doing. This is the biggest issue with OnePlus not having a carrier agreement. Is
That
it's
was the
so much more
biggest
difficult to get
that
hands
yeah,
on.
that shift back with the OnePlus 11, the one we saw last year, and
Yeah.
then with
I
the
understand why they did it, but it
yeah,
definitely makes the conversation more difficult. So,
yeah. No, absolutely. And then I think Open started the conversation. You could see the direction change at OnePlus. They're like, we don't want to play anymore. We're really here to knock it out of the park. Open is a
yeah.
knocking out of the park type of foldable. And for me, the 12, and I know it's like not the flagship killer or the killer flagship. I love that question that you posted on my video. That was actually that was a smart ass.
It was a smart ass question. Yo, you're right.
No, I got it. It translated in the text. But the
You heard it in my tone of
yeah,
voice.
absolutely. It's like I had a visual of your face, see a pop in the like a floating head
Oh, this guy.
display.
Great.
Do you mean killer flagship or a killer flagship, TK? Come on. It's it's a hard it's okay. I'll say the hardware wise, it's very similar to the Open when it comes to the camera stack. It's a different way
Yeah.
of using the sensor. We're not stacking. We're still binning here. This is typical to what we've done in the past. But the color science on the 12, the just the sheer performance, Android 14, Oxygen OS 14, all the features that we have in here, the AI functions. This is like literally that subject separation, and I didn't know you
Yeah.
could do, by the way, what you were doing. Okay, I had to follow one
Yeah.
of your instructions where I literally just took myself out of one picture, swipe, put myself in, and I was like, "Day, I'm done."
And it's so clean because like we
clean.
should sell it. We should properly credit Samsung has had that kind of subject identification feature.
Yeah.
But the fluidity with which OnePlus is turning everything in Oxygen OS into a gesture is what's really critically exciting.
The side dock came over from the OnePlus Open. That is to me heaven.
So good.
Recent
That folder structure where you it's not so it's just like you've got the Android keyboard and you can go into the keyboard clipboard and you can pull up old things that you've typed or search queries or passwords.
You can turn on to have it just put it in.
Now do that with files.
Yeah.
Now do that with photos. I mean, like I was showing it off in the Discord, like I could drop Windows exe files to move them to the correct folder so that I could then install them in WinLater in emulation. So it's like it's completely so what Samsung had done in the past was great. What OnePlus has done has been to open this up for the entire phone, for any file on your phone, for almost any context, and for so many of these apps that don't have support for drag and drop interactions. OnePlus is turning all of this into proper gestures to make all of this easier. It is shockingly good. So when I caught a review from someone today who was like, well, Oxygen, it's real stuttery and it's not as clean as One UI. And I don't believe you. There's nothing against One UI, but I wouldn't call it clean.
Yeah, I mean, it's
let's not play that game just for the SEO.
You have to throw. Yeah, you have to just mention the other. I think that's what it is. You have to just mention the competition and then just basically kind of throw. No, look. Since day one, OnePlus's mission has been smooth speed and performance. Not one version of a OnePlus device that is like a typical or like mid. I'll probably say flat. Like the pros, the non-pros. And I'm not referring to the Nord and some of the other devices that are typically
sure. That's almost like a totally different company. Nord is almost a totally separate.
It is
company.
Absolutely a different company.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how OnePlus is to Oppo. It's like Nord is to OnePlus type of a relationship.
For sure.
So, but for those devices, not one device ever came out of the box stuttery issues with performance. The sheer smoothness of everything on this device is crazy. The fact that we got a bigger battery and faster charging than most devices on the market, crazy.
I did a battery charge test recently on the OnePlus 11. I was trying to do a video. It kind of fell apart, but I'm hoping I can get it back, put it back together again. Just fast charging versus wireless charging.
No,
with an almost 10% larger battery capacity, My OnePlus 12, I need to test it again. My OnePlus 12 charged from completely empty to 100% faster than my OnePlus 11. And I don't know how that math works out, because that shouldn't be unless
Well, we're
there's
doing
even
80.
more
No, no, we're doing 80.
magic. No,
We're
I was doing
80
the
watt.
same because it's 80-watt charger on the OnePlus 11 too.
Yeah, but 11.
So
the
I had
11
them.
I thought the 11 was.
I had them
67.
connected to the same charger, and the larger capacity phone was faster than the smaller capacity, unless the
Yeah,
OnePlus 11 is capped at 65, and I
it is.
just didn't
It
know
is.
that.
No, no, it is. It is in the
But
US.
I thought it came with the 65. No, wait. I
No,
thought
no,
it
it
could
came.
use the
It
80
came,
watt.
it came with the 125, but it was capped to 65. Hold on.
Oh, see, no, I thought
Uh,
it was the other way around, where it came with like a 65, but it could use the international 80 watt. Now I'm gonna have to like do all my tests over again.
Juan will be like, "Dang it, TK! I thought I was
This
done
is
with this
breaking my brain. Regardless, we have the fastest charging in North America. I have been an
Um,
absolute broken record, repeating over
I,
and
I,
over and
no,
over
no, no, no,
again
you're right. You're right.
how.
It is 80 watts. It is 80 watts piece. I take that back.
So
I don't know
I
why
don't
I was
think it
confused.
came with the 80-watt charger, but I thought if you used the international charger or the open charger,
Yeah.
it supported 80-watt charging. That's
They're
what I
so
remembered in my brain.
in theory, it's supposed to charge. They're supposed to be fast. It's supposed to be faster because it
Supposed
is.
to be charging at nearly the same rate, but with an almost 10% larger battery. The
So,
12 beat it.
question for
So I
you:
need to redo something in my test to make sure I didn't screw something.
did you make the devices go back to sleep? Did you turn them off again, or did you allow them to stay on once they turned
So
off?
to keep it fair, my OnePlus 11 kept turning back on when I would plug it into charge. So I would
Okay.
try to keep it all the way off. So I left my OnePlus 12 on,
Hmm.
and the OnePlus 12 charged faster. I'm not talking by a ton, but I want to say it was something like a 90-second difference, like just enough for it to be distinctly noticeable and measurable.
Larger
But
battery
you
and
would
same
you
speed.
would
You'd think,
think
yeah.
you would think that the larger battery would have taken an extra minute, to charge out. Regardless, we're talking from so empty the phone won't boot until
Hmm.
you plug it in, so
Yeah,
completely non-bootable, to fully 100% charge registered on the phone in like 34 minutes.
that makes sense.
You
That's
have a
yeah.
60% charge in like 15 minutes.
It's a
I
lifesaver, man. It makes no sense almost for them to
It
have wireless in there. I'm with you.
totally changes your relationship with the phone. And I can't get this across to so many of the people, especially on the Apple side. Like even the Samsung people are starting to appreciate, like, oh yeah, that does actually look cool. I wish I kind of had this on my phone too. But it's the Apple people that are like, well, no, I just put really expensive chargers and coils all over my house. And you're like, why would you do that? Don't do that. That is such a waste of money.
So my only philosophy on the charging thing is I have a theory that maybe could apply, and I could be totally wrong, but the fact that the OnePlus 12 has a bigger battery, and we know
Mhm.
that the fast charging doesn't really happen entirely from 0 to 100. It actually starts slow charging, picks up
Oh, you're
speed.
right. You're right.
Now, the bigger battery means it charges faster longer. So where the
That's
OnePlus
right.
11, when it gets closer to the end, like around the 80, above 80, it starts slowing down. The OnePlus 12 has bigger margins, so it kind of inches slightly
It's gonna
higher.
race to 80, even just to, yeah. Okay,
Its
you're right.
80 is higher.
I need to do the calculus on that, because what I need to calculate is a rate of change.
Yeah.
When does it actually start the bell curve of how it charges? When is it ramping and when is it tapering off? And you're right, with the extra battery capacity, it might be tapering off later into the actual physical capacity. Okay, we don't.
That was
I'll,
my thing. Yeah.
I'll play with it more and I'll figure it out, and I'll have some more data to share.
No, the
when I
point
get.
is, the
But
entire point is that
that's the
both
kind of
phrases fast.
nerdiness that I need to like sink my teeth.
Yeah,
into.
the moment you're like saying, "Wait a minute, how does that make sense?" I'm like, yeah, hold on. That would, but either way, what I
For sure.
wanted the big thing about the OnePlus 12 for me is now obviously they're returning to wireless. The 12 is a return to what the 10 Pro used to be in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the 11 was like, if we had to kind of put them on a scale, the 10 Pro was here, the 11 was slightly here, and then the 12 is back up here. Well, maybe
Mhm.
slightly lower because we still don't have 4K 120. But beside that,
Yeah.
we gained the wireless charging, we gained the video output, we gained the bigger battery, like all the the things that you would assume or you would want from a newer
Yeah.
flagship from them, they're back. And I think this is where I'm so excited about the 12. And I feel like
I,
it's such an easy.
I am so incredibly excited for what the phone actually represents, the price to performance.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
am kind of annoyed with OnePlus. I
Okay.
feel this is the branding that the rest of the world is familiar with. And
Yeah.
we are not familiar with that here in the United States, where we used to have OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro.
Yeah.
And then we had OnePlus 10 Pro, and OnePlus 10T came a little later.
Yeah.
This feels like a pro tier device, but it's just called number. And in India, they're more familiar with R series being a lower tier. So
Well,
we're
actually,
getting
they have them as
we're
a
getting that
base.
now.
Yeah, they have them
Well,
as
yeah,
Rosetta
but
and.
I'm sorry. I mean the phone itself,
Oh, okay.
not what we called the 12R is they've called the Ace. The naming is this is the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel OnePlus has been very inconsistent with their branding.
Hmm.
I do feel like that's a fair criticism because it's confusing for consumers. If you were going to compare a OnePlus 11 and a OnePlus 12, and then you'd be a little upset, like, well, why is this? It's the same numbered series phone. I guess OnePlus is going to charge a little more. I don't get like what's going on. You wouldn't know that actually the phone that's closer is really like the 12R, even though it's not an upgrade, it's a lateral move. So we have to like kind of start fresh. The OnePlus 11 is going to be an off year that doesn't count in the lineup of OnePlus devices.
It was the adjustment year. They were doing.
It was
That's
the
where
adjustment year.
adjustment year.
But
Exactly.
that messes up our conversation because that sets different expectations as a one-off. And then
Exactly.
we have to kind of get back into the flow of, well, what's the nicer one? What's the downgrade? Is there going to be a T series refresh? Like
I
all of
hear it.
that just makes the consumer conversation more difficult.
And them coming out with two at the beginning of the year, again, back to the old style of two phones at the beginning of the year, bears the question is, will we see another one at the end of the year? Are we back to three phones a year now, or what are we doing? But
Yeah.
the reality is, it's no secret that OnePlus has been trying to figure out their footing the last few years. I think for a
Yeah.
while when they were building up, they got to the point where they were comfortable. They got in with T-Mobile, they got in with carriers. They were getting better in that relationship. I
The
think that
only
was
Chinese company to really make that play.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Not only, and it was in stores. Like I remember, I was at Tech Summit with Qualcomm, and T-Mobile was demoing the 6T McLaren edition on their 5G towers in Maui. Like this is the level of how well they were together, kind of a thing. But once that relationship changed after the 10 Pro, we saw the deviation. We saw that the 6T,
Hmm.
the 10T wasn't in stores. It was unlocked. It was available directly from them. The 11 was a continuation of that story. And I think that's the adjustment, which you're
Yeah.
right. It throws us off from the conversation because if you think about it, the 12 is such a massive upgrade over the 11. But we also want to make sure that it's we're not saying the 11 is bad. It's just
Bad. It
in
was
the
designed for a different audience at a
it,
different price point.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if we had to say there was an 11 and an 11 Pro. The 11 is the one that came out. The 11 Pro didn't come out. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's how I feel like because it was treated the way the 11 would have been treated.
Or the 11 is kind of just splitting the difference. It's like the baby of what we have now with the number and the R, or before when we had the 9 and the 9 Pro. The
Absolutely.
11 is in between the number
And
and the
and
Pro that
and
we used to get. And
and for
that's see
everything they
that's
did,
the kind of extra language we need to use to
yep.
try and describe. And we've already lost consumers if we're trying to tell people like, well, this one was the good one, but now this year this is the good one and it's better than the good one from last year, but they're not really the same, but they're similar, but they're different.
Exactly. Exactly. You should just
Exactly.
coin that and put it on a shirt.
I mean, put that on a t-shirt and people will all totally understand what I mean.
You'll have
I
you'll
I
have you'll have the what? Like the whole time.
huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Or they'll just be like, I'm just going to buy a iPhone. And I wouldn't blame them for just keeping it easy.
After listening to
So
yeah.
I think this is also in North America. I think this
Mhm.
is going to be the interesting counterpoint to other AI strategies. I feel there is a hard division between companies that are really looking at server side
Mhm.
cloud AI and companies that aren't in markets that are as tightly controlled by Google services, looking more at on device AI. And
it's
I'm
a
really
big
curious
push.
to
Yeah.
see if OnePlus is going to come out, because like the new like tap and hold to select a subject
Yeah,
in a
it's on Pixel.
photo.
It's out on Pixels now. Oh wait,
Well, but I
sorry, my mistake.
no, no, no,
You're talking about the tap and select, not
not
the circle to search.
not circle to search. I mean, on a OnePlus, you tap and hold on any subject,
Hmm.
and the phone does an incredible job of detecting the lines and edges of that subject. It could be a flower, it could be a car, it could be a person. It seems to work a little bit better when it's a person, but it's still really good at detecting focus and focus fall off. So I did flowers at an angle, and it picked the most forward
Yeah.
in the focus range and popped that, and it was like a beautiful cutout, even though you could kind of see there were blurry out of focus flowers kind of falling out of focus behind it. So that is a fun, practical, little cute element that you can
Hmm.
throw AI. But that's also coming to the 8 Gen 2 phones. Like I am now just installing the update on the OnePlus 11, and that's also bringing the same subject selection.
The subject
So,
selection has been in ColorOS 14 since late
and
last
exactly.
year. Yeah, so I got a chance to play with it on the Find X6 Pro.
But
And
this is the big hook
mhm.
is OnePlus, all of the BBK brands, OnePlus and Xiaomi and Oppo. I said BBK brands and I said Xiaomi. OnePlus, Oppo,
I heard you, but
Realme,
my brain
Vivo,
was
iQOO.
and Realme.
Yeah, because you have that pretty thing and you're a jerk. That is a really good looking phone. So all of
Your ass should have been at CES. I'm just gonna say it right now. So
I
if you got it right,
know.
you should have been.
I missed
This
out.
was there. This was saying hello to me. And look, even Sony loves this. If Sony
I
loves this,
know
you got to do
that
this.
Sony focused right on it.
Like
So
it knows
I'll
the
be curious
sensors.
to see what they do because
Yeah.
they sell predominantly in markets that are not heavily stitched up with Google,
Yeah.
and you can't tell me that they aren't looking at a customer base where sometimes even LTE is an emerging technology for communication in some of these regions.
Hmm.
You have to do more on device. They're actually going to be leveraging more of the neural cores and
But
NPUs on
they're
these.
building their devices to run on device type of calculations and
That's what I
LLM.
mean. Is
Yeah. Yeah.
like the big exciting things coming from Google are very server side, server dependent. Circle to search is such a beautiful gesture
Hmm.
to initiate
No pun
some kind
intended.
of
Sorry.
5G. No, but it is.
No, no, no.
But
I
to
know. But
initiate
yeah.
a 5G data connection, you're reaching out to a server that is then doing AI processing to analyze what you just circled, and then it sends information back to your phone. If you live in a market that you can't count on that kind of data connectivity, well, you need to find other AI opportunities, and that's where you leverage the on-device stuff and you try to make that the bigger draw. And I feel like that's going to be the big debate.
Hmm.
The more Western and developed areas, the companies that sell really well there, I think they're going to make a bigger push for server side. And the other markets that aren't as sort of buddy buddy or as directly influenced by Google's server strategies are going to be looking at on device. And OnePlus, I think, is going to represent that for us here in the United States. I think
They'll get.
Apple and
They'll.
Samsung and Google are
Yeah.
not going to put as much processing in the phone for some of the more advanced features. They're going to send you up to the cloud because then you have to pay more money on subscriptions and cloud services.
So for the generative AI stuff on Samsung devices, yeah, absolutely, that is server based. Other than that, other than Circle to Search and the Gen AI functionality in there, which I was playing around earlier with Joe Hickey's. So
Sure.
Joe was at Unpacked last week with me, and I saw him, but we never met up. Like
Yeah,
I saw him on the other side of
it's
the
too many people
floor.
and you're not there
No,
long
no,
enough. You're just
no,
so
but yeah,
fast.
it was like a swarm of people. Like the stage is not as big as it looks like in cameras. I'll say this: it was we were in a stadium, but we were sitting in literally 1/4 of it, and the stage was set right like if you were sitting at an ice skating rink, and you see basically
Yeah.
where the seats go all the way down, right, and then you
Hmm.
stand out, you're on the rink. They brought the stage all the way to the edge of the field of the stadium, so we weren't really far into the stadium itself to start with. So it got swarmed. There was a lot of people, and then we ended up having to leave. And then he was with the insiders as well because he came in with Qualcomm. So, but I was joking with him because he took a picture with some of his friends where he was the tallest person in there, and I used the S24 Ultra to bring him slightly, a little bit down the size to make him all the same level. And Samsung's relying heavily on internet. Whenever you have bad internet, it'll keep erroring you out. It'll says, cannot
Yeah.
do this. This is not functional. I had to get out of my building, go outside, make sure I had good solid 5G. I did it again. And then of course it did it perfectly. So no, absolutely. I'm with you. There's a lot of conversations going on where AI or generative AI or the functionalities that we're
Hmm.
looking for are going to work server side. Samsung is trying to limit some of those, like some of the other services that you can personally just shut that off and all the things will run on
Yeah.
your phone, but then you lose 90% of the experience. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's not cool.
That's not. Yeah. It's not. That's not a
No,
perk.
yeah,
That's
exactly. Like
yeah.
I like that you gave me the option to turn it off, but it's
But
not.
I was really kind of trying to draw that comparison too with Google
Yeah.
because like I still haven't finished, like I've written a script for it and I keep going back and re-editing it, but
Is it minty
I
though?
kind of feel like
Is it a
no,
minty? Is it a
it's Bay,
minty?
it's my Bay, it's
It's
Bay
your bay?
Blue.
Oh, bay blue.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, because I saw some mint today all over.
I know there was. It looks
I,
like a cool color.
I,
I just traded in a Pixel 5 that was in that sort of like sort of sagey
oh yeah, that's
green
right.
flavor.
So I
But
just gave my
but the
Pixel
thing,
5 to my niece. So I don't
yeah.
have the Pixel 5 anymore, but she's getting her first brand new Pixel.
So
So
Marie opted Pixel 8. She got the Pixel 8 in pink, and we traded in the Pixel 5
that's a
to
good
just
code.
kind of offset the protection plan. Anyway, but the reason why I was pointing that out
Hmm.
is I feel like Samsung has their own AI division, and they will likely bring some tools
Hmm.
to Galaxy. The major aspects that we've seen, the biggest claims made by Google, stylized photos, video
Yep.
boost, these things
Yep.
are server side because they are encouraging consumers to spend more on cloud subscription services. And that sucks some of the fun out of what you can do on the phone, especially when you pick up a Xiaomi or a OnePlus and you've got these really great like cutout composition transparency tools just built right
Hmm.
into the gallery that all work without a data connection. And
Exactly.
that's the thing is like Google sold this on tensor cores and they had the most brilliant MPUs. They could chew up image data like no other phone. And now I feel like some of that magic has been lost. And OnePlus is picking up some of this, and Vivo is picking up some of this, and Xiaomi is picking up some of this, and it
Xiaomi
makes the
did, you know,
devices feel more complete on their own.
exactly. And I think that's the biggest benefit is when you're able to promise a feature to the consumer, and regardless of how well the internet connection is to that device, you're running it and you're giving them that experience.
Yeah.
Because
It's not a great
that was
feature
most
if I don't have great
no,
internet.
it
That's
was
not a
absolutely
good
my challenge when I was in Hong
feel.
Kong with the Pixel 8 Pro. It was absolutely when I went to Shenzhen, same thing. Absolutely. I started to feel, hey, I need a better connection. I need to be
Yeah.
connected to, it was like um it's very noticeable, and it does showcase how much we are used to having good internet because we are in a specifically urbanized area, connectivity
Sure.
everywhere. I mean, even if I have low internet connection at the office, it's still pretty good considering some of the other areas I
Hmm.
was able to visit. So I think the what OnePlus is doing for me though this year, at least differently, is it's like somehow somebody at OnePlus and Oppo decided it's like, hey, you know what? We're gonna give OnePlus the Oppo color science, and we're gonna put it on the 12 this tier. We
Yeah.
took the slider from them. We worked with them on the Open and the N3, but this year,
Right.
no, because that's been my like my gripe, my one thing that I've always appreciated about the Find X series or the OnePlus and Oppo differences.
Hmm.
There's always a difference in color science. Hasselblad, everything I
Yeah.
understand the filters and everything, expand, all of those are really good, and I like them. But I always had a different. It came out. The images came out different from a Find X6 Pro to the 11.
Hmm.
Previous years always been the exact same thing. The Find X5, Find X3, all of those always had somewhat better processing for me, and I think if maybe I'm just used to it, but it was more appealing. This year, the 12 brought that low light photography at night. I was in Vegas when we were doing CES and walking around and, just taking some pictures of Caesars and stuff like that. It is
Yeah.
beautiful. It is
Hmm.
gorgeous, beautiful pictures, clean, easy to process. And everything when you're taking pictures or you're doing things like that, flies. Everything is flying. You're cutting
And
video, you're rendering.
night mode photos that are going toe to toe with Vivo,
Mhm.
which I never had seen on a OnePlus before.
This
Now
is
the Open is very
exciting.
similar, but
Yeah.
like the 12 is even taking that a step further,
Well, because
and
yeah,
it's
the
pretty
Open is very
incredible.
much there's a price not gonna say that it's a barrier, but there's a massive price difference to what you're getting with the Open, and the Open is trying to be two devices at once. It
Sure.
really did a very good the presentation, the material, the thickness of the device really was done absolutely to the next level. Like I still say this, but the excitement on the our PR friend that we work with every once in a while at
Mm-hmm.
OnePlus at the beginning of 2023, I did not understand why he was so excited. But like when I saw the Open, I was like, he's
Oh, we
right.
got something to talk about
No,
here. Yeah.
seriously. And I think the 12 was also in that same boat for me. For me, it's a device that answers everything I wanted from a OnePlus and then some,
Yeah.
and brought back features that I appreciated. I like the wireless charging. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of being able to
No,
do
it's
more with your device.
incorrect. JGJ was trying to be snarky about like, oh, I guess I can never use it, and you're like, that's correct. You should never use wireless charging.
What I will say is this: yes,
If you have to
you
use
don't.
wireless charging, that means you failed in life somewhere. Because you didn't plan ahead, you're not a Boy Scout, you didn't have like a USB cable in your wallet or something like that. You
You didn't
you
bring the
you
solar
let
panels
yourself
and
down.
the microinverters
I'm
on the
I'm
back.
not mad. I'm not mad.
Yeah,
I'm just disappointed that you didn't respect yourself enough to plan ahead,
plan
to
better.
be prepared, and you needed to use wireless charging. That's all I got to
For
say.
me, the only time I use wireless charging is in the car, and that's because that's where I have my phone be sitting in there. Otherwise,
Sure. I,
it's
I
always wired.
can't like there's no place on my busted old Nissan to
Mhm.
put a wireless charger where I won't double cook the phone in the spring and summer.
Oh, that's
There's
right.
no place
Because it'll be
to
in the
set
sun.
one.
Yeah. It'll be sitting in the sun as the
And
sun.
so what I need to do is use an AC vent, and at which point there's no point in having like a different type of mount attachment. You just put it in front of an AC so you can cool it. But that's why I like fast charging, is because I don't charge my phone in the car unless I need to,
Oh, but
and
you
then
have
I can
wired
I can
charging for
plug
the
it in,
car. They make an 80-watt charger for the car.
and I have
OnePlus
it.
does it. Yeah.
And it in 10 minutes. So let's say I'm stuck in LA traffic and it takes me an hour to get downtown. I'm not charging it the whole time.
Mm-mm.
I'm only charging it when I'm about 10 minutes away from my destination, and then I'm done. So this is like why I keep trying to tell people like this fundamentally changes your relationship with the battery in your phone, and you're not managing it by having all of these accessories and coils and solutions. It's just I should probably plug in. So I guess I will.
No,
And
yeah.
that fastest charging experience comes in the box. So you don't even have to stress about buying the right charger later. So, and then the other things you can kind of make up, like, oh, but what about magnets? And you're like, well, I've got magnets. I have cases and attachments and things that I can replicate, and mounts and brackets and things. Like, I don't need Qi. I don't need MagSafe to do that. And I really don't want to be charging my phone all the time. I'd rather only charge it when I need to
Exactly.
charge it. And OnePlus facilitates that relationship, just like Vivo and Xiaomi facilitate that relationship. The only other company in North America that gets close to that is Moto.
I was about to say.
Everyone else here is putting a lot of battery anxiety on us so that we go out and buy more expensive accessories than we need.
And where the accessories are not included in the box as well, which is no, I get it. Um, so at least for mine, I dropped a video basically talking about why I'm excited about this device and why what I wanted to try to bring in with the flagship killer concept wasn't really to try to grasp at a like a catchy title or something to that effect. It because to me it
Right.
was where the 12 is positioned, even though it doesn't have the word pro, it doesn't have the word ultra, it doesn't have the word awesome right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
It hits different. And you gotta like it's you have to try it, and this is why I'm so happy about them being at Best Buys. Sorry, because you're getting that ability of taking that phone and actually taking images with it and seeing how it looks like on the device, scrolling through, just seeing how the UI responds to your touch. Going to the Google feed, swiping up, running it at 120 hertz or
It's a
QHD.
huge win to have access to being able to use something like that in person.
And exactly, and
Yeah,
but that's been my number one. Like I felt like the only clutch that they've ever had was the fact that people couldn't try their phones before they got them,
yeah.
and Best Buy is going to open that. And again, even if it doesn't succeed like right away and it takes about a year, it still is a big win in the direction they're going. They'll have better band recognition.
And
And
it
people,
also helps with a psychological hook
yeah,
that I feel it's obviously OnePlus isn't going to completely course correct for this, but it would be nice to have examples to show people where they can consider doing business outside of the carrier store
hmm
having such huge influence over how consumers buy their phones.
yeah,
Best Buy has actually done a pretty good job of helping people steps outside of that and
hmm
also do comparative shopping between different carriers
yeah,
because they don't care what carrier you sign up with. If you sign a deal and you get a trade-in offer and all this other stuff, like they just want you to do business through them.
exactly.
This is an opportunity to kind of help consumers do shopping better outside of like a T-Mobile or a Verizon rep kind of breathing down their neck on these are the phones that we offer, and you're like, cool, I guess I want to shop something different.
Yeah, and they
So
won't mention that, just because we offer these, that doesn't mean there isn't other devices that will work perfectly.
or AT&T just like, yeah, you can bring another phone to our network and then we'll shut it off
Like,
whenever we feel like
okay,
it.
so this
So
this was this was the craziest thing ever. I have my T-Mobile SIM sitting right now in the aforementioned. This is the Ultra. Obviously, we're going to talk Ultra. This is what I'm
beautiful.
getting on the Find
Love it.
X7 Ultra. This is not a US device. It is not intended for our market. We're talking full
Gorgeous.
speed here. We're talking full
Yeah.
5G here.
So
Mid-band. We're
much
not
better
talking
carrier
sub-6
support.
only. Like, we're talking Verizon. Sorry, what's it called? Sprint level.
UC?
Like, yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This
It's
is
real good.
the and more, but this is what Xiaomi's been able to do it. T-Mobile's basically been the most friendly one to international devices outside of
Hmm.
AT&T, because AT&T does the whole listing thing, and then Verizon you have to kind of certify. But if you take the conversation in there, so it'll work on Mint, it'll work on anything, any NVMe that basically utilizes T-Mobile services and resells under them. This is a big win. Like, this is, for
Yeah.
me, this is how I look at it. And obviously the OnePlus 12 just knocks it out of the park. I think it even clocks in higher than that. But I wanted to do a speed test in the office, like inside my house where I typically have
Right.
not fast enough for connection. I was still clocking 220 down inside the office.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, even on the MediaTek side, the Vivo X100 is the first that I've
Oh,
been able to really rely on. But before we keep shifting gears, we should wrap up the OnePlus.
wrap it up.
The
Put it in a bow tie, my friend. I love it.
the main takeaway for me, and because you were talking about why you were so excited, and that's what you were trying to share in your videos,
Hmm
I feel there is the conversation about AI. If we think AI becomes something that makes an impact on our daily lives, we're going to see the fight between cloud-based services and on-device.
Yeah.
And I think we've got good options. We've got Google and Samsung on one side of this fight. We've got Apple sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And we've got OnePlus doing on-device, I think, in a more direct way with the hardware components that the phone has. But I don't think OnePlus has ever been given enough credit
hmm
for delivering premium tier experiences, not ultra tier experiences, but really nice and expensive, but not at the top of the price chain, food chain experiences that undercut Samsung and Apple. And this year specifically,
hmm
this is a special year for OnePlus where they are looking at the most vulnerable sectors of the price market for Apple and Samsung, and they are punching as hard as they can on the places where Samsung and Apple are weakest. And I don't think these companies, Apple and Samsung, do not have answers for the OnePlus 12, the OnePlus 12R. Samsung was caught by surprise with the OnePlus Open, which should have been a runaway year for the fifth generation
Yeah,
foldable Z
because
Fold from Samsung, and
exactly.
OnePlus totally swooped in there. Didn't swoop in there because it was across the board 100%. Every feature was better and it was a perfect match and parity. They swooped in because so much of it was better and the cameras were great and it was arriving at a lower price point, which is something Samsung couldn't fight.
And
This
I
is
think
a
Pixel
very
wasn't
precious
giving them
year.
a fight. That was the other thing, because Pixel came out first, and we were all waited for the Pixel Fold. And
Yep.
as good as that device is, it was arbitrarily made so that it doesn't compete with the Fold. Like, it was designed and
I feel
positioned
like
specifically.
I feel like we're still seeing the fallout of Pixel 6. Like Pixel 5 threw off Google's entire hardware strategy. Pixel 5 was supposed to be the Tensor.
Yeah,
And I think we're still seeing like the long-term ramifications of how Google had to course correct. They had an off year that threw off their chip design. They're still trying to work with Samsung to improve the fabrication and efficiency. Samsung isn't getting it done, so we're on a holding pattern until we can kind of switch to TSMC in another year. I think like we're still seeing all of those teething pains play out.
Yeah,
So what I really hope is at the end of this year they skip Tensor 3 and they bring out a Pixel Fold 2, just jumping to Tensor 4
for
to match
the
the Pixel
smartest,
9.
that would be the smartest
I'm
decision.
hoping,
Continue
but
with that. Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they kind of get stuck. Like the Pixel Fold comes out with the 8A with the Tensor 3. Like Google Google needs to like either skip a gen, which I don't think they want to do, or they need to figure out a new sort of chip development strategy to get their products more in line
Mm-hmm.
with their
Streamlining.
release dates. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know what we'll end up with. Google, I mean, like they could choose any of these. Like it's really up in the air right now.
There's a
But
there's a pretty good chance that the Fold 2 is already, the design's already been locked in. We don't have
Yeah.
the device, but the device, because
So,
we're months away.
I'll be
Yeah.
disappointed, but I won't be terribly surprised if it does show up with a Tensor 3, and then we kind of fall into the same pattern. Like Tensor 3 is coming out on your most expensive device of the year, but then Tensor 4 is right around the corner on your new Slate phone. Like that's confusing for consumers. That is a difficult play to make. OnePlus has beautifully sidestepped all of that drama, and they are now iterating on devices that are the best they've ever made with access to the best technologies that they've ever used and just incredibly competitive features while undercutting Samsung and Apple. Not only are they delivering a better device, they're also delivering it at lower prices. I don't see any company stepping up to really match this.
No,
I think
no.
Moto is going to give us a better computer. I think
Okay.
Pixel is going to give us a better phone. It's a better communicator with things like call screening. But even into the end of this year, I don't believe Tensor 4 is going to unseat Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. I don't know
No.
that Google will get in line on features like video out through the USB-C port. They keep promising it, but I'm not going to hold my breath until it's here. I mean, like, what is
Vaporware.
it that we get? Like, have you done like a screen test on this thing? Like, I held the OnePlus 11 next to the OnePlus 12 and just like held it up in sunlight, and like, it is startling how huge of a jump that screen brightness was in 1 year. And this isn't the bestest of the best screen panel that Samsung can make.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, this is not their
It's-
top notch. This is still,
This is really good.
this is
So
this is weird. So, I mean, a lot of my excitement on the 12 is also built on top of the 12R. But I can't really go too into detail with the 12R, but just for sake and saying that the 12R is selling for $399 on Giztop. Like, price point, this device with the 8 Gen 2 is really gonna, I mean, I almost feel like they're
Yeah.
cannibalizing their Nord series at this point. At
I'm fine with that.
No, but like, yeah,
I'm good with that.
Like,
Yeah,
would you go with
go
would
ahead
you-
and keep doing that.
Would you do a 250, or would you just go to $400 and just get like a little?
It's like the opposite of Pawn Stars. Like
Yeah.
best I can do is a much better phone at a lower price.
Okay,
Okay.
you're gonna have to settle for better and pay less. No.
And then you walk out and you do the interview. Well, like I think I got a pretty fair deal. I went in there with expectations, and what happened was different than my expectations. But like, I think that's fair. I think that's okay. And then you're like, this is hilarious.
No, I know. But let's to button up the 12. Just a general conversation. There's more conversations to still come with the 12R. Obviously, that still has to come. But for me, the 12 is like, I cannot say good enough things about it. It is like it delivers on what it promises, and it delivers on it right away. The one thing I will say that is not there, I think from what I remember, is that I think is Dolby Video is not out yet, and that's going to be available in a future update. And that is coming. So it's about the only feature that wasn't in the device at launch, but it's something.
Oh, and they're stacked RAW. They don't have the same
sorry,
stacked RAW that the Open has.
Yeah. So that's the other. But the other thing what I'll probably say is, from what they offered and what it is, I think there was no day one update. That was the surprise. Like for us, we actually got the
Mm-hmm.
final update a few days before, which was
Mm-hmm.
nice. It was a
Really
massive
nice.
it was a massive update, but it came
Oh, they
before.
just did like a full scrub. It was like the full OS. We're not going to try and
Well,
patch anything. We're just going to replace. It's better this way.
it's easier if we just. So to me that was nice. I was in Vegas and I was talking to our friend after our meeting. He's like, don't worry, there's no updates, whatever. And literally it was not even seconds. The moment after I finished saying that, I hit the refresh,
Mm-hmm.
like, no, but there's an
Oh,
update now. There's and then
lovely.
he's like, what? How big is the update? I sent them a screenshot and I'm like, it's a full-on system update. He's like,
Yeah, it was like 6 gig.
so
So
yeah,
it's pretty solid. I like it. I
I'm
think
gonna
this
take it. I'm
is
gonna stamp it. It's done.
and again I feel as we move on to this conversation on the Galaxy Note 24,
Ultra. Yep.
this is where I need to reiterate, like, people are not getting it in my video. I start the
Hmm.
video out saying I believe there are 4 tiers of phone.
Hmm.
And immediately people are rushing to say, but the S24 Ultra is better. And I believe that's correct. I believe the S24 Ultra represents a higher tier of device than what the OnePlus 12 is built to represent. That
Okay.
is reflective in a significantly higher price. And
Hmm.
there are all those other features like S Pen, that there is no stylus support that's built into this OnePlus 12. So
Yep.
as
That's
we
true.
move to this conversation, I don't believe that these are comparable. I like I said earlier in this podcast, I would not earnestly recommend both of these phones to the same consumer.
It's
And I
not.
think
They're
this
not.
is where we lose sight of this is why I don't like Samsung's strategy that we don't
Hmm.
have a true S Ultra. We have a Note. You have to buy the S Pen even if you're not an S Pen person.
Yep.
You don't get the same cameras and the same battery capacity and the same specs and features. You are forced into overbuying on features you don't need if you want to stick with Samsung for brand loyalty. And this is why I'm very anxious about part of this. But I can't think of another phone that's going to come out this year that is going to be a better true workhorse diesel truck productivity machine. The Note
Okay.
has always represented that kind of portable compute power, laptop grade replacement strategy.
Yep.
As soon as you give it a stylus and you give it a desktop mode through that USB-C port, you should leave your laptop at home. You should give that a try. It's
And no,
really refreshing to just carry
and
that.
pair it with a nice pair of XR glasses or AR glasses. Yeah. No, you're hitting it out of the park. This
Bluetooth
is
keyboard, it's
where
so good.
this is where I find like the. So I agree with you. The whole my thing. Okay, so I'll say this. As much as I loved the Note series back when Samsung used to have Note and S series separate from each other, I never lived with the Note. I always lived with the S series. To me, the S
Hmm.
Ultras or the best version of the S series was the one I liked. General aesthetics, just the feel of the device. That we don't have the sharp edges. It was more about like the fact that it was
Yeah, I mean, like,
typically
even down to the design of the phone, this should not be called an S. It's
exactly.
even a radically different frame. Like, the
It's a
corners,
Note.
as much as I hate
No,
doing the how does it feel in the hand, it feels different in the hand. It is
and
not an S, it's a Note.
but what's happening to us right now is that we're going through. This is what the second generation, right? The S23. No, the third generation. No, it's the second generation.
S22
Two was the
was
first time they combined them, I think, right?
no. It wasn't S. Was it S21 or S22 where it had stylus support, but you had to buy the stylus
The
separately?
21, yeah, I want to say the 21 was the one where it had the stylus, but the stylus was an
So
accessory.
then
And then 22 is when they
22,
built it in and they
23,
combined. Yeah.
and now 24 are all notes
Because
with silos.
The Note 20 Ultra was the last one they did as a Note. And then they skipped the S21 series because that's when they gave the pen to the Fold and to the S series. And then in 22, when the S20 22 Ultra came out, they flipped the switch on that, and then they gave that one to be the
Okay.
Note. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Now you're back. But what I mean to say though is, yeah, comparison wise, it is a class of its own. The Note, as it always been, has had features that no other company has actually come close to it. We have affordable price versions of it. We have pen support for many devices, but built-in S Pen functionality that gets improved. And again, like you said, workhorse business companion that people like to get the Note for. I think that right now, from what I've had for about a week that I've been using it, obviously I switched over from the 23 Ultra to the 24 Ultra. The difference is not that great physically,
Mm-mm.
like I mean, from the functionality that we're getting there, other than the
Mm-hmm.
fact that the One UI 6.1 is at this point, not saying gatekeeping, but like is the only one that has the new AI features. But they're coming to the S23
Right.
series, like I think middle of the year. Um, Battery life has been pretty decent for me. Camera experience is pretty much, I would say, on par to be the exact same thing. I haven't really noticed a big. I mean, other than shooting
I
in 4K
think
120, that's about the only thing that I'm able to push it
yeah,
further than what the 123 Ultra. That was a nice surprise to put in.
that is
Um,
really sweet, and it's
and
something I wish OnePlus would bring back from
like
the
of
OnePlus 9 and
like
OnePlus
out of
10.
the blue
Yeah.
though, Samsung would it would drop that and doesn't even mention it anywhere. You have to go in and
It's
find
so
it.
nice to see them finally catch up to the Xperia 1 Mark II. That's really good of Samsung to finally invent 4K slow motion like that. It's pretty sweet.
Because you gotta be able to. You gotta. No, so for those features that are in there, I will say, um, I'll say this. This is the longest time I've spent using the Samsung keyboard, and I haven't switched out of the Samsung keyboard. I've customized it to stop functioning like a Samsung keyboard to a certain point because speech to text. No, so look, I'm gonna give there's a few credit because I want to be able to get the full experience of the AI
Sure,
that's
sure,
built
sure, sure,
in,
sure.
and to do that, you have to use Samsung keyboard.
You have to use Samsung stuff. I get it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so from having but the voice to text function of Samsung keyboard is bad. Like it does not. Like I'll say a three-letter acronym, like I'll say, 1, 2, 3, like take me to FBI or whatever. And Samsung
Sure.
keyboard separates F space B space I, but Google knows that when I'm saying letters in sequence, you should put them together.
Mm-hmm.
There's that part of the intuitiveness, but either way. So switched it over. I haven't I'll say this. A lot of the functions that they promise are working as long as you have good internet. It's working fine. The Gen AI function, I feel like they've surpassed Google's own glory, and that is crazy for me
Yeah.
because it works really good.
I was really underwhelmed with like stylized photo on the
Oh,
Pixel
absolutely. Oh yeah, yeah.
and
No.
what Samsung is doing with Gemini, because it is still Google's backbone,
Oh
but
no, no,
what
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Samsung is
We are
doing
not.
with Gemini
Yeah,
is
exactly.
no, but that's important though. That is important because what I was saying before in the OnePlus thing, if it's not being done on device, you're feeding this information up to a server, and yeah, we can say, oh, sure, it's all Google Gemini. I've been really snarky about that, but what Samsung is asking Gemini to do on your behalf seems to be better than what Google is asking Gemini to
Better
do
and
for me.
faster. That's and not only that, multiple queries at the same time. You can do multiple
Nice.
edits in a same sequence before you generate it. To me, this is something that I felt like we should have had automatically with Google as opposed to that one at a time
Oh,
type of thing.
stylized. That's why I can't use stylized. Is like I'll send a photo up, and now
You
it's
have to
taking
first,
up space on
yeah,
my
exactly.
drive, and then it just
Mhm.
gives me some random output, and you're like, okay, well, I didn't like any of that. Okay, cool. We'll just make another random set of photos. You're like, I'm not going to sit here and keep asking you to randomly generate AI footage off of the photo that I sent you. There's no guiding aspect to that. So
That's what I feel
Samsung
like.
giving us
Yeah,
prompts is exactly where we should be going with Chat GPT style language learning models. I
exactly.
am shocked that Google hasn't built that into their stylized photo experience. So Samsung absolutely deserves that credit.
Yep.
Where normally I would not point to Samsung as being a leading content creation device anymore. That's more fun to play with though than what Google is giving us on their
Premium
the
on their
standard bearer of Android. The company that makes Android and makes the AI is
yeah.
not utilizing it to the same proficiency that
I'm just
Samsung is
I'm
currently.
just hoping that it becomes a quick oh my god, we didn't push that button off. Turn that button on. It should be available tomorrow to everybody. No, no, and it is absolutely. You're right, and I think that. But that was the biggest thing for me when I first saw it at like the day before Unpacked. I was like, this is crazy. This is really like this is crazy, crazy. Is this going to be available on devices day one? They're like, it's already on.
Yeah.
I tried it. I'm like, crap. This is like
It's like the
the
Joker from Batman. Chances are you bought them already.
yeah.
It's like, it's
It's in
on.
it's
Just
in
do
your
it.
pocket. It's already in your pocket, my friend. So for those things, I think the wow moment for me hasn't dropped yet. It's been a week, and I still like circle to search for by far is the easiest thing ever. Like
It's really elegant.
if there is
Yeah.
a way to wow somebody into like this is a better feature on your device that makes your life, it's called you're on Instagram and you see your favorite artist, your friend or whatever, they're showing you this pair of sneakers or whatever they want to see. You tap on that sucker and you find exactly what it
Hmm.
is. Omar came up to me a couple of days ago. He's like, Dad, my shoes are starting to wear down. I need to buy the exact same pair. Can you figure it out? Can you get me another? Dude,
I don't
I said,
know. They're
I got you,
shoes.
bro. I didn't even take a picture. I just pointed the camera onto his shoe and then
Hmm.
circled the search and bam, found it right away.
Nice.
But you know, again, this is what I'm trying to say is AI needs to feed or functions like these need to be intuitive, need to be second nature to what we do. I've never used Circle to Search prior to a week ago, but I can tell you that I feel like I've been using it for years.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. Pixels are getting
See,
it
to
right
me,
now.
that's like floating window on a OnePlus.
Yeah.
You've turned something that in Google Lens was
Mhm.
really clumsy and required a screenshot and would scan through the
It was
photo.
too many steps. Yeah. And people didn't
Too
use it
many
because of that.
steps. And
Exactly.
now you've turned it into a gesture. And now I think this visual search is going to move forward. Like you've actually moved it forward in this experience. And I'm going to be snarky about Samsung's presentation because I think they did a miserable job at Unpacked of telling people what makes Samsung phones special, because a lot of these features are going to show up across Android. They're
No,
going to
no, exactly.
be Google platform features, not Samsung platform features. But still, it's like being able to play with it first on the Samsung was a nice little perk for the couple weeks that you might be able to do that.
Mhm.
But
Well,
I really wish that Samsung had spent more time delineating this is a Google Gemini Android feature versus this is us using that server to do something no other company is doing. Because what you're saying about like prompts and photo editing in the Gen AI
mhm.
is exactly the missing link on why I am completely underwhelmed with other photo solutions on other Android
Oh no,
devices that are
absolutely.
using this AI
And you don't
processing.
have to back it up to Google servers to get the
Right.
function to go. That was the big kick to me
You
because when I
occasionally
was in
might
home,
have to wait in a queue, but it's going
yeah,
to come right back down to your device.
but
Yeah.
that was what I was saying is when I was in Hong Kong and I was in Shenzhen, I could not run stylized photos because it
Yeah.
would take too long. Like it
Yeah.
was like I please back up the image first. I'm like, oh my god, you want me to back up a 6 meg file to the server for you to be able to
Hmm.
like no. At that point, I was like, you lost me at backup first. Um, but those are the things that was kind of getting me a little bit more like again, one of the reasons why I found the solution to the way Samsung did it on the S20 and 24 series right now, understanding how it was presented, I absolutely agree. It's marketing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we
It's
can.
all the branding for
No,
sure.
no, no. It is absolutely the
It
branding.
is. Yeah.
It is because when you go back to the presentation 6 months from now, nobody's going to make another presentation saying Google added it to their phone. There's
My
not going to
my
be a
OnePlus, sorry, my OnePlus 11 just finally rebooted, and so now it has the
thank God
cutout
they cut out. Yeah,
the cutout feature. So I just wanted to show that because okay, well I'm gonna just do it live here real quick. So here's a
move them. Thank
telephoto
you.
shot I took of the little mini Optimus Prime
Hmm.
on my shelf. So I'm just gonna hold on him. Oh, I can't do it when it's zoomed in. I'm gonna
Yeah,
hold
yeah,
on
yeah.
him. Oh, come on, do it. There it goes. And now I can drag it. I have a perfect little cutout of Optimus Prime now. So we can go on to talk about Samsung. I was just like, it just landed now, the update on the OnePlus 11. So
We
I'm
are.
pretty stoked about
It is
that.
pretty. It is pretty decent though. How many devices we have that are running Android 14, and how many devices are actually fully up to date? Like this is it's yeah. Dang it,
It's
January
good
hasn't is not
times.
over. No, yeah, but like January's not
Yeah,
even done.
I know.
Like this
It's
is
pretty nice.
hey, like this is the part of early stuff that I enjoy. Give me
Hmm.
that much early, but um,
So I do want to get back to S24 Ultra.
sure.
I would like to know also, because Dex has been going through some evolution on the tablet side. Do you have new Dex on S24 Ultra? Is it still Dex Classic?
It is still the same decks that we had before. Same
Okay.
same options to mod it Good Luck. There's still basically, I'll say this: it's the same decks that as a One UI 6.0. It's not different. And that was one of the other questions specifically. Like whenever I go to these events, especially because I think nobody talks about desktop, like to them it doesn't exist, even though it's like a core function of what this thing is.
It's like one of the most delineating features on any phone in the history
Absolutely.
of mobile communications, and could
no other company in the US right now
displace.
has that feature the way. I mean, I'll take that back. What? Sorry.
I prefer Moto Ready 4,
No.
but
Moto Ready
I
4
know what
is-
you're saying. Okay.
from what Samsung is doing with the Note series or the S series Ultra, for me is a unique market on its own. The desktop experience for me is a near and dear, because this is what we appreciate. Ready 4 absolutely knocks it out of the park, and I think for the devices that it's compatible with, it's gonna be really nice, and it works great. It was on their Flip, it's on their Razr, on the Razr Plus. It's crazy that they took it out of premium and brought it in. I'll probably explain this. If for somebody that likes their 22 Ultra, the 23 Ultra, they're gonna love the 24 Ultra. There's no question there. It's very much an evolutionary move. I think the 8 Gen 3 is definitely very nice. The battery life here is much better for me. I feel like it even lasts longer. But when I start cutting video and I'm starting editing and then producing content off device, because what I was doing is I shot a lot of stuff on my DJI, right? So I brought in the Osmo Pocket 3. That was my main camera. I sit it down and I shoot all my A-roll, but then I do all my B-roll on my 23 Ultra or the 24 Ultra. And then I just transfer all the content onto that device and I start editing in there. The pen becomes functional. Like all of these little things that you need that you would need for a PC. It was simple. Like I was sitting at the airport waiting for my flight and I'm like cutting video.
Yeah.
And that's the intuitive thing. And if I really want a bigger canvas to play with, dude, plug my glasses in. My glasses from the Roku glasses for me by far are so good. Like easy plug in go, or the Rainier Air 2s. Really nice, very easy recommendation. Like this device needs that accessory. The other thing I'll probably say is Samsung's also stepping it up with their accessories this year. They have way more cases. They bring in the flip suit options in there. I saw one that had Marvel, Venom, even National Geographic. They bring in way more.
Yeah.
Like
and
first
also
party,
licensed.
Yeah, the licensing stuff. This is the biggest thing. Like there's one for Harry Potter, one for Simpsons. Like they have one like where Lisa's sitting in the back, and I think there's like Peace or something like that. But long story is, for those things, it works really nice. It's much more well-rounded. It is still a Note at its core. It is not an S series, and I realize I understand why they didn't want to call it a Note to a certain point, because I feel like Note sounds more like a business tool where they're trying to say this is fun and business in the same, like party in the front.
But I feel like
business in the front,
with
party in the back.
S24 Plus to Note 24, there's a gap in there.
Quite a bit.
And there is a consumer who would have appreciated an S Ultra.
Yeah.
That now they don't get it. So I look at this from the outside of not really being a big fan of Samsung products, and my general assessment of not really having handled the devices is that if you're on an S23, this is going to feel very iterative. But if you're on an S22 and you're getting rid of a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, you're getting a significant improvement to battery life, and you're getting that better telephoto camera with the brighter screen, that seems like a much more sizable update, where Notes are typically not devices that you feel you need to flip in 2 years. They are monster diesel truck, run them till the wheels fall off kind of phones.
Exactly.
But I feel an S22 you might feel encouraged to upgrade sooner than you would have normally, looking at all of the list of improvements, skipping the S23 Ultra. Going to the S24 Ultra feels like a leap in processing power and in battery life.
The S23 Ultra, for its own for its own merits, it was a workhorse. It was definitely a very good representation of what Samsung benefits from going to TSMC and having. It's a kind of a weird situation because they were the ones manufacturing the 8 Gen 1. So it's like leaving them their own fabbing, going over to TSMC. There was a big benefit, and the fact that that was, I think, the year that we went where all Qualcomm. That was
Yeah.
the Qualcomm situation, and then they continued it. This is the other thing. The Ultra is only a Qualcomm device,
Yep.
so the
All
experience for
these folks
me.
saying like, "Oh, the Exynos is going to be just as good because I saw an Antutu score." Nope, it absolutely isn't, because then we'd see Samsung using it in their nicest phone, and they aren't.
No, they're using.
Samsung is telling you that their Exynos is not as good as
They,
the Snapdragon
I
8
think
Gen 3.
they've realized it, and I think they felt like, hey, let's not keep banging our head against the wall. Let's just do the right thing. And I feel like
We
it's
can
shaped
use our chips in like an FE edition, and for our fans, we can punish our fans with our own
for the
chips.
true fans. But even the FE is going to get some of these. It's shaping up to be really good. I still need more time with the S24 Ultra to actually kind of make it into a
Sure.
full review. I'm not, but this is the weird thing. I'm not sure if I'm actually wanting to do a full review of it. Like last year, I
Yeah.
did a video where I did a vlog with the S23 Ultra where I had to do a 24-hour trip to New York. It was basically I left at 11 o'clock at night and I came back the next day at 11 o'clock p.m. from New York, and I was able to spend a good majority part of the day in New York. I was exhausted. I don't want to do it again like that. But
For sure.
what I feel like to me is just to help showcase what makes it unique and what makes the AI functionalities helpful. The part of it where it's intuitive and it jumps in front of you when you need it, and if you can ignore it, it goes away. That part I like. I don't want AI to be thrown at me just for the sake of having it. I want to be able to reach for it, circle to search. I can do whatever I want. They have a few functions built into the keyboard where it does the rewriting or stylizing of text.
Yeah, some of that would look cool. Yeah.
That was actually decent. I'm like, don't get me wrong, but like, I feel like Google's implementation on the keyboard is much easier, because what it does is you highlight the text and says fix it, and it just gives you the answer. Where Samsung's trying to do is different scripting based on what
Yeah, sure.
styles of different things. So you'd have to kind of scroll through, and at that point you're like, I've missed the point of the conversation.
Honestly, and again, anytime I have to like defend Samsung, it's like acid from my intestines is erupting out of my mouth, and it burns. It hurts so bad. But I feel like your depiction there,
Yeah.
I imagine two very different consumers. Again, I don't think we've gotten to a point where we can lay down and say like, there's an accepted format for email. We understand how email functions. We can understand, especially if you're old, like where it mattered if you had a POP server or an IMAP server. Like, sure. When it comes to that, what you just described there with AI, like, I like that the Pixel gives me this answer to correct the grammar and to make the
Yeah.
sentence more
'Cause
understandable.
that's what I wanted it to do. Exactly.
Is someone totally different than someone who would say like, but that's not how I talk. You know what I mean?
No,
And Samsung is trying to give us flavors on that might fit someone's flow a little bit better. And the next step is like, you just analyze all of my writing and then you can come up with my voice when you write, but we're not there yet. So right now I think there are two different consumers. Like, again, it's not one solution. We haven't gotten to the one solution that everyone's kind of agreed on yet. We are still throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what noodles stick.
Exactly.
And then we're going to kind of craft a strategy off of that. And then by 2027, this AI language processing will just kind of be the background noise of our day.
Yeah.
But until then, if we don't have fundamentally different applications of the same server style processing, then we won't know where we're supposed to end up.
No, I think this is the thing for me though, is what I find, at least the functional part is I use that function in Samsung's keyboard primarily to talk to my nieces and my son. Because there's a function where it uses emojis in there, which I don't really use emojis to write in conversation.
Because you're so old.
Thank you. What year you were born? 19? Like, oh, don't you have to finish? You said 19. Like,
You said 19. You're done.
You had me 19. You lost me at 19. So
yo, fellow kids, that is so lit. Don't you think that's lit? I think it is most lit.
It is fire. But yeah, those are the functions that I liked in there. The translator function in the phone call, I haven't really found use for it. I typically don't, but I mean, like I said, it's there if you need it, and it's not there if you don't want to bug with it. And I think that's why I like it.
Sure.
Nova runs on it much better than I had it on S23 Ultra. All my shortcuts, everything works really good.
Nice.
Yeah, for what it offers, I think with the exception of, I'll probably say, and I don't know if it's an issue with the phone or is it the whole MagSafe accessory thing. The cases that have MagSafe built, I'll say this, the magnet piece built into the case.
Hmm.
If you put a magnetized either pop socket, whatever, on the back, you have to be a little bit extra firm with the pen on the display, because
Hmm.
if you're not as firm, it may start skipping. Something to do with
And
the way the magnets are done on the back.
I've seen a couple demos where even if you're trying to really use that S Pen, if the magnet in the case
It's tr-
interferes with that, it can completely interfere with S Pen.
yeah,
Like
and
it doesn't matter what you try to do with S Pen, it's just gonna mess it
where
all
I
up.
found that
So
it was, for me at least, for the cases that I was doing in one of the videos I was doing, Poetic Cases sent me one of their cases that had the magnet, or the receiving end on the case, popping on the outside part of the case. It wasn't baked in, and that one didn't have a single
that
problem.
seemed to work better. I would
Yeah,
imagine, yeah.
because it was a dual layer case where there was the silicon and then there was the hard plastic, and then the magnet. Where this one is one layer baked inside.
Yeah,
It's
it's
closer to
like
the phone.
smashing up against the phone.
Yeah,
The one that I would be curious to see the design on is the Peak Design case,
I was
because that
trying to.
magnetic mount doesn't align with the MagSafe circle. It's
Yeah,
compatible with the MagSafe circle, but it's a different magnet configuration, and it does technically push out from the back panel. Like there's a little grip, there's a
yeah.
little
It's sit on the
indentation
outer
here
part of the case
for
as
the
opposed to on
mount,
the inside. Yeah.
but it's also a really strong magnet. So I'd be curious to see if a Note owners have had any issues with like the Peak Design system is like that, and also the Ulanzi system
Okay. Yeah.
is like that.
Well,
And
and
I'd be curious to see, because like those are not cheap cases, and
oh,
if they
I
wreck
don't
your
doubt it.
S Pen, that's
But
not great.
surprisingly, though, Samsung themselves are not making MagSafe compatible cases. All of these cases that we're seeing here are from third-party case manufacturers, because
Hmm.
they're feeding a demand for users that want to have, modularity, being able to pop the certain things on.
Hmm.
I personally don't put things on the back of my phone. My wife likes to use a pop socket, and I bought her one of those magnetized ones, and that was the
Hmm.
only reason I was able to demo that in my video, because that's the only MagSafe thing in the house. I don't have. I mean, I have a case with the mag ring on the back of what is it called, the 13 Pro that I have from the iPhone. Sorry, I couldn't remember iPhone. I don't use it really, but it was one of those things I had to demo, and I could see it, but at least with the pop socket I was using, as if I pressed firmly, it was not as big of an issue. I think Brandon Lee had a bigger problem with, depending on the unit he was using. It had
Hmm.
stronger magnets. I know
Oh,
which one he had.
Brandon always has bigger problems and controversies than anyone else.
It's
Oh,
it's not,
that Brandon.
but like I said, it's there's no Qi 2 support. There is no first case, no primary cases from Samsung. But
I feel like that Samsung delivering the ringing endorsement of my assertion that Qi charging is not the way to go. They're not
uh,
even bothering with Qi 2. They're like, Juan's right. You should really just plug in with a cable and charge cooler and faster with cable charging than using these wireless chargers. But
I
also
I
buy
missed
all
the
of our expensive
67.
accessories, and we
No,
don't
no, no.
put a charger in the box.
I missed the 120. I missed the 60, the 80-watt charging on both the Vivos and the
Hmm.
OnePlus when I'm charging the Samsung. But I will say that I appreciate the fact that it is faster than the Pixel. It's still faster than it. Like
So slow. The Pixel kills me.
oh yeah, man.
It's just so slow.
And you don't realize it till you use something that doesn't have it, and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I really like this phone, but I like it charging. I got to remember to leave it longer, because I'm not getting back up to 100%. Like, because I don't charge at night.
And I
I
have
do
to
not
do
plug
all
my
the
phone.
management. Like, I'll set up the smart charging so it lines up with like an alarm, and I'll plug it in overnight, and it's just so.
For me,
Why you
I
shouldn't have to spend that much time babysitting.
just to charge the phone. Exactly.
Yeah, but
I think that was it.
now we're demanding so much of these pocket computers. Even like those so-called average consumers are doing so much more with their pocket computers. Like this is such a fundamental impact on how you use it. And
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, it is nice. You do peak at 45-watt charging. You don't sustain 45-watt charging for long.
No.
That's a nice bump, but it's still so slow. Because like I even felt this way back when we were doing Warp 65.
Yeah.
65-watt charging is so much faster than their Samsung's super fast 45-watt charging, and then OnePlus just went another step more aggressive.
Oh, and they finally gave
So
us the 80. Yeah. That's that.
the last thing that I did kind of want to pick your brain on, are
Sure.
you noticing anything specific to 8 Gen 3? Because now that you've played with a few of them, we didn't get any big announcement or reveal like we got last year, where it was Snapdragon for Samsung and it was supposedly this overclocked chip. And I
Okay.
didn't really see that manifest as across the board performance wins. But Samsung was faster in a few areas than other companies. But then you could find examples of apps and services where Samsung would fall behind. So
Yeah.
I didn't really feel that their claims about an overclocked chip mattered much for the high level compute tasks. Are you seeing Samsung doing anything with HN3, or is this still a very managed and manicured kind of device?
For the most part, it's still very well it's still managed in the same manner as the HN2. They didn't really change the governors that we had. We still have standard and light, or basically battery saving mode. I will say, because I've had to cut video on both these devices and I've rendered 4K 60 frames per second videos out of my devices on both ends, that the HN3 is faster at cutting video and rendering it in CapCut than it is on my S23 Ultra. Because this is the weird thing about it. To truly get the feel of if this is a better phone or not, I'm actually running both. So I'm
Yeah.
using the 23 Ultra as my work phone and a 24 Ultra as my main phone. So as I'm running content, and what I'll end up having, depending where I am, because this is AT&T, this is for running on T-Mobile, I would transfer content from one phone to the other, and I would see how it performs. How well is it able to churn? It's not like night and day, but it's still faster. I feel like it cuts through 4K 60 easier than HN2 was. Although
Can,
HN2 was already kind of like night and day from
yeah,
HN1.
HN2 is
It's not like
so
slow,
good.
but it's like I can see it. The counter
Right, I
keeps
know.
going, and I'm not changing anything.
Can you remind me on CapCut? Can you export a project or
No, you
do?
can't. So
Okay.
and that was one of my biggest thing that it bugs me, because you can't do a straight
It would,
apple to apple. You have to reproduce the entire
you
thing.
have to and you're going to be a few frames off, and it's not exactly the same.
So
It's one of the things I love about, especially for being a tech reviewer. But when I'm done, I did for Dia de los Muertos. I
mhm,
shot a video and edited it on the Pixel 8. My
yeah.
daughter's school had this really beautiful festival, and we had a taqueria truck come in. I mean,
Oh,
it was just
nice.
really great. It was awesome, and the kids were just so proud of all of the like projects they'd done on famous Latino historical figures, and it was great. And the music, they have had live mariachis, so I took
Oh,
a
dude.
video of one entire song, and
Yeah.
that's the music bed for actually going through it all. And as soon as I was done with it on the Pixel 8, I was able to just take the whole project file. And I just wanted to see, would it be faster on the OnePlus Open? And you can just send the whole project, all of the clips, everything that was shot on the Pixel, and just ported it over to the OnePlus Open. The OnePlus Open was a little faster at finishing off that video. So it's just I couldn't remember if CapCut could do the same thing,
No,
because that
no.
would help so much if like, hey, I just finished this whole thing. How much faster is it than the S23, I wonder?
Well, because you do want to be able to run it, and that was the other thing. It's like you can duplicate the project, or you can upload it to a space, but I'm not sure where a space is.
Hmm.
Spaces. Oh, there's oh, that's CapCut. That's spaces on CapCut servers.
Yeah, I don't.
I see what it is. It's uploading it to because I log into CapCut using my TikTok account, because
Mhm.
it's one of the login options. So there's a 1 gig space that you're able to upload it from there. So I'm wondering if I'm able to back up a project, like one project that I just
Oh, and
did.
then maybe pull it back down that way. Power
Yeah.
Director used to do that, and that was a major pain. But it did work. It was just really slow.
Okay. So I'm gonna try it right now. I'm uploading one of my projects in here, and we could
I
do it
I,
live.
I couldn't get into the vibe on Cap. I mean, CapCut has great tools and actually some even better, like really fun, like image compositing and green screen style tools. The second I dumped in a 4K video and I saw like it's processing.
So it doesn't do that on. So
No.
here's the weird thing: it doesn't do that on every device for some reason. Samsung devices, it doesn't process; it just drops it straight into the timeline. But if I try to do it
Yeah.
on the Vivo, it has to process the file.
Anyway,
OnePlus, it has to
I
process the
can't.
file.
I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to, and especially video by video by video.
Oh no,
Oh
absolutely, yeah.
no.
You'd be you'd be like, I could have transferred this to my PC, dropped it into a timeline,
Yeah.
edited the video, and produce it by the time you're done rendering. Yeah, though I think what happened is it's a compatibility list of how they see devices and how they're compatible with them. Out of the box, the S23 Ultra was compatible with it, although I didn't get the same options as I got in my Pixel, because exporting on a Pixel gives you the ability of doing the compression size, like not just the frame rate, but like
Oh
how much.
yeah.
Where with the S23, sorry, the S24 series and the S23 series, no, it's still up. It's going to take forever, I think. Let me see here.
Oh no. You won't finish it tonight. Like Power Director, I have the one test project that I run.
Mm-hmm.
When I was testing in Power Director, it would take like, I want to say it would take over 2 hours to upload it to their server, download it to the new phone, and get the new phone to reorganize all of the clips in that file. It took hours. Now on LumaFusion, I saved the LumaFusion package, and I can either nearby share it or I can send it up to my NAS. I don't have to use a cloud service.
That's good.
And it takes like a minute, and it doesn't matter like how big the files were, because it's just a log of all the edits that you've made, and it makes a bucket. It's kind of like a zip file of all
Yeah.
of the clips that you've used, and it's just ready to go. So if it's a cloud thing like that, I mean, like that could help you for your testing. It's not something I really think anyone's going to use
No,
seriously,
there
but it is
was-
nice to have it for what we do.
Exactly.
It's
Just-
just
just
you know it's going to be really slow.
It is for me, because like I said, because it's like when you travel and you start editing content and stuff. So I'll say this: when I was at CES, I had the OnePlus 12 with me, right? I was playing with it, I was using it, but I also had the Vivo, which was again very nice, having the 9300. So running CapCut and editing, cutting video and doing it on the AGen 2, AGen 3, and then the 9300, and you could like, wait, the 9300 churns much faster. Like, dang it,
So
dude.
much faster.
And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I can see, like, I could put my finger on it. But then comparing that to the S23 Ultra, you're like, oh crap, yeah, the AGen 3 is much faster. Like OnePlus is
Yeah.
doing it better. Although OnePlus is not fully compatible yet because it wasn't a device that was released, so you could only
Right.
export in 1080p 60. So you were having to do this is where CapCut becomes it's not the same function
Right.
and features.
LumaFusion didn't care. I OnePlus 12, and the day I got the OnePlus 12, I did like my whole suite. So like audio editing and photo processing, and LumaFusion was like, neat. You seem to have enough processing power. Let's render this video. There was nothing holding it back. There was no list of approved devices.
Exactly.
And that was brilliant catching it on the Vivo. The Vivo is rendering video. If I match all of the video quality settings to my new my workstation with the new 4070 Ti, it's not a 4070 Super Ti, but it's a 4070 Ti, which is a pretty beefy GPU.
I thought it's a 47 Ti OC, wasn't it? The overclock?
Yeah, it's OC. It's overclocked. Yeah,
Okay.
that's such a minor. It does very little overclocking a GPU for video rendering,
Okay.
video editing. Like I've never found where like I actually want to go in and get better at doing things like undervolting.
Okay.
I can underclock this thing. Like might as well. It's probably going to save me a little power and heat on the inside of this case, and I'll probably end up with the same performance. Short story, incredibly long.
No, really.
Matching the same projects in DaVinci Resolve, which makes excellent use of beefy GPUs, the Dimensity 9300 is significantly faster at rendering the same video projects if I can match edits frame to frame than DaVinci Resolve Studio and this 4070 Ti. It's shocking. And I just posted this up on the Discord. I was just kind of farting around. I have I showed it when Trisha was on. I'm spending a little bit more time with this beefy, rugged laptop.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So this is This is a 12th gen Core i7 U series. So
Okay.
the lower power
Lower
series,
power.
but
Yeah.
still a
Well, the
Core
laptop.
i7,
Yeah.
12th gen. Benchmark scores. It's not as benchy as an 8 Gen 3.
Okay.
8 Gen 3
A little decent.
CPU, single core and multi core, faster,
Okay.
and the GPU scores are neck and neck with what's in here. And the Dimensity 9300
Just
is
blows it out of the
better.
water. Yeah. No, look, don't get me wrong. There is
So I mean,
absolutely a
we're definitely
function.
talking about different operating systems, and I don't really believe you should take Geekbench scores. Like, I know Geekbench tries to make it sound like this one number is comparable across iPhones and Androids and Windows machines, and like, sure, okay, we don't really use these things and have the software to use these things comparably like that. But from the synthetic benchmark perspective on Geekbench,
Mhm.
this is the same as an 8 Gen 3. And the Dimensity 9300 is a step above this. And
That's interesting.
that is ridiculous. That is
No, no.
shocking
This is
performance.
why I was saying the 24 Ultra is a workhorse. It's a device that it wears many hats. It wears absolutely many hats, and it does so many things at the same time, and it works for what it does. I think that the one challenge was a few comments that I got on there. They're like, some people were surprised why we're not getting a bigger battery, because as we're starting to see more manufacturers put in, 5500, 5400 is what we have,
Mhm.
and devices that have obviously faster charging, but like give us more battery, right? I mean, the device can handle it. Uh, so Samsung is not going with that, but I think overall, I feel like it doesn't really need it. The H Gen 3 is doing enough of battery between the H Gen 3 with Android 14 and the optimizations that we have in the between the two. There's no problem carrying an entire day, almost even a day and a
You
half with
know,
this. This is like I
I,
don't
I,
I
I
don't feel like we don't
and I
need it.
see I
Mhm.
see what you're saying, but we're also saying it's an ultra, and
It
it's not.
yeah.
Samsung is not delivering the best of every component that they can really deliver. And I have a philosophical, the
Yeah.
person who enjoys the Note experience is going to pick up the Note 24 and they're
Yeah.
going to love it. I don't see anything controversial about that. I think this
No.
is exactly the kind of productivity and work device that someone's going to need, and it's going to be money really well spent because it's really going to empower them to do the work they need to do on the go.
Yeah.
I have a philosophical issue with how Samsung markets, brands, and positions their products. And you're calling something an Ultra and you're charging $1,400 for it. And I know it is not the best collection of parts and pieces that Samsung has access to. I know Samsung makes better parts because they end up in their competitors' products. I know Samsung has worked more aggressively on battery technologies and is sourcing different battery packs. They are not licensing the best battery and charging technologies that are available. I know they make better camera sensors than what are in the ultra wide and the medium telephoto, because those not isocels. I couldn't remember isocell. Those isocell sensors are really good. I think Sony's got an edge on them, but I
Hmm.
know they make better sensors than what's in the medium telephoto and the ultra wide.
Yeah.
There's no reason why Samsung couldn't be sourcing their own parts to make the S24 a more substantial upgrade over the S23. And that's the issue that I've got. It is correct what you're saying. You are getting performance improvements. I'm sure they have governors and a performance curve, and they can manage the battery life. I've seen a number of people, a number of our friends say, like, I think I'm getting better battery life on the S24 Ultra than I even did on the S23 Ultra. I don't think that's necessarily just the anecdotal newness. I think it's probably accurate.
Hmm.
But they also could have given us 10% more battery capacity in the most expensive slate phone that they sell, which is called the Ultra.
Which is basically 100 milliampere difference between it and the Plus. You're right. I mean, the Plus has like they're it's a tough pick. Like, it's a tough.
Well, because OnePlus has a 12 Plus.
Exactly.
The new 12 has a 5400 milliamp
Milliamp
hour battery. I
at
like
67 watts. No, like it's bigger, faster. It's bigger, yeah, bigger, faster in everything in that sense when it comes to the tech. I think it's not just there. I think I feel like Samsung's been like, don't get me wrong, like what they know they do well, they're sticking to that recipe and they're not really deviating much. The AI stuff, the functions that we're getting in there, that's leveraging again Google tech. This is not them trying to reinvent the wheel. Good luck customizations are still in there. The overall interface, UI, all of that stuff is very familiar. 6.1, One UI 6.0, 6.1, and One UI 5, very similar.
Yeah.
Not a lot of changes aesthetically, that like under the hood stuff, but again, major part of that is Google, it's not Samsung. But the thing for me that I feel like I still need to kind of, I want to see more improvements in there. Like they have better support for third-party launchers, I'll say that. That was the biggest difference between 5 and 6.0. I can install Nova. And one of the reasons why I left the S23 Ultra last year when I moved over to other devices is because it kept crashing with Nova on me. If I can't use my launcher, my main UI interface that I like to live in,
you can't use a phone. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a problem for me. And if that becomes an issue where I cannot depend on it, that device starts to drop down on my list. I can still say the fact that the cameras work great. I like one of the more simplistic ways of streaming from it, plugging in a microphone, going in the field. I mean, we've done multiple live streams from the park
From
when we're together
from Samsung's.
from Samsung devices, because we know, I mean, between them and Sony's, we're the only two devices that we can just, we know when we plug in a
Just
microphone,
plug in and go. Yeah.
everything, StreamYard will recognize it. Everything will
For
recognize
sure.
it, right? So those are the things like I think for me are still, like I want to see more.
It's the things that Samsung does well. Yeah.
And so that's why when they brought in 4K 120, that I love that. When they brought in the AI function of you don't have to shoot a slow-mo to create a slow-mo video, that was functional. Like that was really nice. Like how many times can you say that you, as a father, as a parent, you're taking videos or pictures of your kid and your kid is absolutely running fast. Like you cannot get them in focus. They're just doing their thing. But you don't have to worry about shooting in slow-mo, switching and doing whatever. You just shoot the video and then you slow it down, and it fills in the it basically
it's like optical flow on
exactly
DaVinci Resolve. Yeah,
and it makes it comes out really good. And then top that off with 4K 120 in Pro mode. It's just I'm liking what they're doing, but it's not that night and day that we've seen before. I'm going to be very happy when I start seeing some of those AI functionalities transfer over to other devices, especially on OnePlus devices. Pixel devices are definitely going to get them probably first with the next feature drop, if not sooner.
It's out now.
Feature.
My phone won't update, but the update is rolling out today.
The Pixel, the 8 series, for some reason, I'll say this. Somebody told me a trick a while back. It has something to do, because you and I are using T-Mobile service. I'm assuming you have your Mint SIM.
Yeah.
If you have somebody or a friend of yours that has an AT&T SIM, switch SIMs for just not even a minute. Reboot with the SIM, check for an update, and believe me when I say your update will push. And make sure but you have to do this though. You have to finish the installation of the update with the other SIM in. You can't just start the update, because I've done it in the past where, I see the update. I'm like, okay, start downloading. I take out my my AT&T SIM. I put in the T-Mobile in there. Guess what? The update goes away. Like the system's like, yes, no. It is very much like we are pushing it for these carriers now and these carriers later. It could, between you and me, it could also be T-Mobile. Maybe T-Mobile's requiring certain version or certain things to be baked in. I don't know. I can't specifically say. But I do know AT&T typically gets them faster. This is why we typically don't get it if we're using anything T-Mobile related. But
that's lame.
I know. You could always just go to the server and, force update.
Yeah, well, whenever I do that though, then like I'm kind of done using the phone and it just becomes a test device. Like as soon as I have to scrub it, I'm not gonna reset it. I have too many phones.
Oh no, you don't have to. You could use the web flash tool to just upgrade. It'll install the new version as long as you're not resetting or relocking the bootloader. If you're on beta and you're going off beta, then yes, you don't, because you have to relock the.
Oh no. So I'm purposely keeping. So my Fold also just got the new QPR beta.
Yeah.
Today. So it just rebooted while we were talking. So it's running the beta. I'm keeping my Fold on the beta. It feels like the Fold should be a test platform.
Yeah.
For where Google is going on this stuff. But I was actively using I keep popping back and forth between the Vivo and the OnePlus and the Open and the Pixel. Like, I can't decide on a daily driver. I'm all over the place. But if I have to wipe the phone to update it, then the Pixel 8's dead. I just
Yeah.
don't have the time to recreate the Pixel 8 that I currently have. But I'll give the web update tool a try and see if that
If you can't
works.
wait for it, otherwise I'm sure it'll be here within a week. It shouldn't be too long. I think the longest I've had to wait
Yeah,
on the
but in a
Pixel.
week it's not going to be worth talking about. I was going to try and make like a little short on like because this is a pretty sizable feature drop. Like there's a lot that they're adding to this, and it would be nice to be able to say like, hey, this looks cool, but if I'm getting it like
I
in the
gotta.
middle of February, like who cares?
You'll be you'll be closer to the next feature drop than it is to this drop.
I know.
You're like, which one are you talking about?
I
February?
got no time for that. Who
No,
has time for that?
I know, but it's a lot of other things. I mean, and obviously we are, the pre-orders of what's it called? Apple Vision went up. A lot of not a lot of demand on those, and a lot of like I was surprised that the next day I tried to go in there and see if I could order one. It was still available to be picked up on day one. Like
Yeah.
I was surprised. Like I thought it would be harder.
I saw a lot of Apple hype journalist silver lininging that.
The
Where
strong
it's like,
neck,
well, but I mean, actually, it's really not a bad thing that they didn't sell out in the first day, because I mean, it's a new product category for Apple, we guess, and it's a different thing, and well, I mean, I'm sure they'll sell out eventually, and you're like, no, no. This is the world's largest, most profitable tech company, I guess, behind Microsoft. This is the company that builds hype. All of these journalists have been telling us for 11 years now that only Apple can do face computing correctly, and they couldn't move their first allotment of dev kits on day one. That is a failure. That is not a good look for
Oh, no.
a company who is supposed to be in the process of saving saving VR.
Yeah.
Apple can't save VR if they can't sell out their headsets. And also, Apple completely got snowed by scalpers. Have you seen the eBay listings on these things?
Yeah.
They're going for like $8,000 and $10,000, and the Apple's process of like, oh, you have to have an iPhone with Face Unlock, and this is how we're going to start up the process of getting your Vision Pro, didn't slow them down at all. So thousands of these pre-orders are scalpers. On top of the fact that they couldn't move all of their headsets in that first day. I think it was into the very beginning of day 3 when they finally sold out of their first wave, and the shipping date changed.
Yeah. So it either, I mean, at the end of the day, which is what I really
Oh, and I'm sorry, I want to use the right nomenclature. This is Apple's mixed reality headset.
Yes.
Which runs VR and AR applications. That's what we have to call it, right?
The dev kit for all of the things that you just said.
It's Apple's mixed reality dev kit for virtual reality and augmented reality applications.
Exactly. That's exactly
okay. Good.
It's a.
Just want to make sure we're using the right words, because if we don't use the right words, then Apple PR will never invite us to events and will put us on a blacklist. We'll be cut off.
But wait, hold on.
So if we don't
but at that
fully
point,
play,
put us on the list though, right? Because I think right now we're not even on.
Well, that's why we're using all the right words.
You just want
the words that Apple mandates their developers use, or else their apps won't get approved in the App Store. And I believe it is the mixed reality headset from Apple, what runs virtual reality and augmented reality apps. I'm pretty sure that's what they want us to say. So I just want to make sure we're using
signed, sealed, and delivered. I have my 6 pairs coming in probably right on day 1. I want to have a pair for every room, just so I don't have to carry it with me.
I'm only going with one of them. I mean, I could have purchased 7 Quest headsets and outfitted my entire family to do a D&D campaign in VR, but instead I opted for one functionally useless, no applications available dev kit from Apple, because
future
they will
applications.
save virtual reality. There are 20 million Quests out in the wild, but Apple's gonna
So
save
I really,
VR.
if there's a
So
if there is, like, there's a lot of conversations going on that, obviously. The end of the day, you have to understand this is a dev kit. People are buying dev kits and trying to, glorify them as final products. Like, the
it is
reality
not
is,
consumer facing. It's a
yeah,
dev
this
kit.
is not
You're totally
intended for the
right.
consumer usage. Absolutely, Apple listed it, said exactly that, but everybody ignored that word because their eyes were like, "Ooh, that you could see my fake eyes in here." All of that good stuff. No,
Finally, 11 years after we told people not to try Google Glass, we finally have a face computer from Apple.
and we have nothing
Yay!
coming from Google in the realm of the focal binaural, nothing. All of those
I am
things are just
so upset with Google and Samsung's play because no one's going to take them seriously. Both Google and Samsung dipped their toes into VR and walked away. There's going to be zero consumer confidence in anything that they do.
the Gear VR could have absolutely survived, and they could have kept
Just imagine if they had
iterating.
been iterating on it
That's what
all
I'm
this
saying.
time.
They
It
stopped
would have
at
been
the S10.
amazing.
They stopped at the S10, and it was like, oh my god.
Imagine if
It
we
was,
had Daydream style headsets
yep.
now on 8 Gen 2s. It would have been so good.
The conversation got cut. They literally just cut the conversation off for no reason before we even had the opportunity to flourish. After putting so much investment into remote controls, headset compatibility, different
Yeah.
styles, the Gear VR for me was literally one of my number one things. That was like, I buy if I'm getting any device from Samsung, I'm getting the Gear VR. There is no question. I'm getting that thing, and
Yeah.
it was just the moment it died. I know for at least about a year or a year or so later after that, I kept getting questions in my videos like, "Hey, does the Gear VR support this device?" I'm like, "No, even if you're able to fit it in there, there is no software for the
That's
Gear. The Gear VR software
yeah.
doesn't get installed. Oculus is the new thing for what they want to do, and this is not it." But yeah, no, I mean, long story short is there's still more time for us to spend with, hopefully we'll get the update for the Pixel. Hopefully the S24 Ultra will also get maybe another update or so. I think some people were concerned. For me, it's like a kid in a candy store with too much candy, and I don't know which one to eat first. So I'm trying to churn through. I put out a lot of content on the S24 Ultra, mostly my I like to call it evergreen content kind of thing, like that typically the stuff
Hmm.
that'll just carry for some time more than just a review. Um, and like I decided to take a break today because I was just daily on, like, between reels, shorts, and trying to push out videos every day. That was just too much. Like, I was
Yep.
like, take a break.
As
And
we were having these conversations at the end of last year, like, hey, we've
yeah,
got to shake things up, and then immediately into 2024, like, oh, I just worked myself to burnout again, and it's only
like,
January.
and it's not even yet, and January is not even done. Like I said, I'm excited the fact that I got the 12 Pro Plus here from Realme. I got a chance to see a little bit of it at at the CES. But yeah, I still need to finish the X100 Pro. I have the Find X7 Ultra, and the S24 Ultra just kind of popped in the conversation. So there's a lot of, like, I have so much stuff that I want to keep producing content, and I have some exciting keyboards. I just got an update, a brand new
Hmm.
Keychron keyboard. They like the work that we did with the first one. This one is a 96%. That's like a full size
Hmm.
Keychron, and it's the same color and scheme. And it's like, oh my god, like, it's a
Oh, that's
crazy,
nice.
dude. Keychron is my favorite keyboard company right now. Like, seriously, they make solid keyboard. Omar loves his, so it's like, but like, I need time. I need, like, I
Yeah.
even got the like the Insta 360 Ace, the brand new Ace.
Oh, very cool.
I haven't had time to use it. It's like,
Yeah.
I need
I
time.
know that feel a lot. I've got a couple things on my desk that I can't show just yet.
Okay, good.
But I'm in the same boat. Like, the embargo's coming up, and I haven't done as much with this thing as I should have to talk about it just yet. So I'm going to be racing this weekend to try and catch
Well,
up. But
well,
it's the
I'm
same
glad
thing.
that we
Like,
have better weather though too, because last
yeah,
couple
well, and
weekends
also
we've had, yeah.
that's been a part of it, is like this whole last week is kind of shut down a few of the things that I usually depend on
Hmm.
for like testing outside. One of these things, like, I need distance to really test what they're claiming. And the same thing, like, I already have fallen into the trap of not reviewing the Vivo X100. I need to go back and actually like finish a main part of that conversation. And again, highlight
Hmm.
all of the B-roll that you've been seeing on my channel lately has been from the Vivo. I haven't
Hmm.
even fired up. The only thing I fired up my Lumix
Hmm.
for was doing the A camera, talking to camera here in my office.
Okay.
Everything else has been Vivo X100 Pro. I need to tell people, like, this is what you're really seeing. Like, I'm not really reviewing it as much as I'm showing you. I'm practically using it as this kind of production,
All of my
this kind of production system.
CES coverage was done with the X100
It's
Pro.
so good.
It is
And,
that good.
Vivo has gotten better about some of their pro mode features. And like when I'm doing like the screen tests, it's so much easier firing that up, locking my exposure,
Hmm.
setting that frame rate, and showing you like, oh, as I walk into the sun, you can see which phone gets brighter. And the Vivo nails that, where even my Xiaomi could sometimes, it would be difficult to set up that kind of a shot. So I'm finishing that up. I just published today a partnership with Zotac and NVIDIA
Yes.
where I would like to point this out to people who catch this video because I am talking about a 4070 Ti.
Hmm.
But in the news, the hotness is the 4070 Super.
Exactly.
And if you look at the video, like you'll notice, I'm not trying to copy you, TK, but I've been growing just a little extra scruff down here on my chin. But if you see this video of me talking about the 4070 Ti, I don't have as much growth down here on my chin.
The
So I
video.
would like people to sort of imagine when I might have shot that video originally and how long it
Oh, it's
took
big.
to finish up a partnership with Zotac and NVIDIA to get that out. But I do want to, like just kind of highlight a lot of what I say in this video. I would just transfer over to a 4070 Super that is also less expensive than the
Oh,
4070 Ti, but it doesn't lose by much in performance testing. That video just went out today. Tomorrow, I'm going to have just another quick follow-up video on OnePlus 12 versus OnePlus 11.
yeah.
And then I'm really looking at a bunch of like multitasking videos,
I want to
setting
focus
up
on those.
better
Yeah.
subscription videos, tips and tricks type stuff. And so there's going to be a lot of that coming to my channel over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think that's for me. It may be more devices, but I'm gonna try to. There'll be. I'll say this. It may not be as frequent. I know that a lot of. I'm not gonna deny the fact that yes, Samsung videos are the search for volume is starting to go down, but I was able to strike at the right sweet spot as time was still allowing me to be able to be. I'm focusing more on trying to be more on the productive side. That's the goal of what I was trying to do with the videos. I wasn't trying to, showcase, well, this is, the greatest camera in the world, whatever. People know these cameras are not going to be disappointing. But I wanted to focus more on how do you make your experience better? How do you get it set up correctly? How do you use it? Um, you know, Good luck was the big one, but I want to focus now on decks. I want to also put out some content on that because I feel like a lot of people need to know that this is part of what you're getting. How easy is it to get decks running on a phone and be on an airplane or be in a
Yeah.
car or something like that and get that running
Yeah.
run and gun, that type of solution. So that's going to be some of my focus, and I do want to also finish up the X100 so I can focus pretty clear. Like I'll say this, Oppo pushed out an update today. We can shoot
Mm-hmm.
4K 60 on the main sensors on the back here, and while you're shooting video you can jump to any camera. You can go from the ultra
Oh,
wide
nice.
telephoto and the second telephoto or the main sensor in the same video. You no longer have to stop the video,
Yeah, like
change
the
lenses
Vivo.
to go out. Exactly. But it was like finally pushed out there, and I'm like, I feel like that's a
Mm-hmm.
big video. Like that's a big video feature that we never had before. Like you need to mention these things.
Like
Uh,
now everyone's acting like again, I was in another conversation on Threads and you're like, "Oh, iPhones do that." Cool. Apparently it matters now.
like
Like
it
this has
exists.
been a big deal. Okay. Awesome. I'm glad you guys get to play along. It's a really big deal. Like my Xiaomi can't do that. My Xiaomi 13 Ultra drives me nuts.
Yeah.
The Vivo can do it, and I was just flipping out. Like, oh my god! And it's even a little bit smoother than when the Pixel does it. Oh, this is so cool. And I'm hoping that now that you said that the Oppo has that maybe it might come to the
That's true.
OnePlus.
No. But
I hope
they're
that we
doing
get that.
they're synergizing much better now than they used to before.
I'm hoping.
And
That is one feature I would legitimately say like they might separate it. The OnePlus is not as premier a brand as the Find X7 Ultra.
I'll say
Maybe this is a Find
probably
X7 feature, something like that.
it
But having it on the X100 Pro, oh, it's so nice.
absolutely.
It's just so simple, and it keeps you thinking about, like, my daughter loves to like run back and forth. Like, I'll say, hey Lex, I want to get a video of you kicking a soccer ball from here to here. And what she does is like a family circus comic strip where she's like running up to the camera and running far away, and then you're like, no wait Lex, I've got it, no you stay, and I can't. And if I'm shooting 4K 60 on any other phone, I can't track her. But on a Pixel or on the Vivo, it's like, okay, I can punch wide. Okay, I can zoom in when she goes running across the soccer field.
Yep.
It's you take that kind of stuff for granted. It's getting people out of the 1080p mindset and into
legit
the
what you should be
highest
shooting. No, exactly.
quality. Yeah,
Getting it. I mean, shooting in 4K, and even if you're producing in 1080, you're still better in the what you can compose, what you can punch into if you need to, and not having to worry about losing quality. This is the biggest thing for me. Is like, I know my reels and TikToks and shorts are all in 1080p. There's no reason to be, I can produce them in 4K and put all the bells and whistles. They're going to get compressed. It's going to create large files, and I can't really do anything with it. And I'm actually, as we were talking, speaking of which, I'm trying to see if the update finally update. Did it finish uploading or no? How long?
Oh, it's still going?
Yeah, still updating. Dang it.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to
I think
do
we
this
should
other-
probably just wrap up the
no.
show. I don't think we can
I'm gonna
finish.
say, with everything being said,
We've been vamping this whole pod. We didn't have anything to talk about. We were just waiting for this upload to finish, and then that didn't happen.
It was the upload for the video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. There was a lot of things obviously going on. The OnePlus 12 is new. It's there. It's available. If you'd like to pick one up, definitely consider it. If you'd like to see what it feels like, check it out at your local Best Buy if you live in the market that you're able to. Otherwise, definitely consider looking into what OnePlus is doing in 2024. We still have the 12R. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so, we'll be able to kind of bring more light into that conversation. And then of course, the other stuff that Juan can't talk about, and some of the other things I can't talk about yet. We'll try to maybe we'll talk about some of it next Thursday on another episode of the Best.
I'm sure we will.
So I'll say this: make sure to check out Juan on Monday for the SGGQA. He has his podcast at 9 a.m. on his channel. Actually, also broadcasted on the YouTube portion of this video if you're watching us there. The audio podcast should be out within a day or so, available directly. Links in the description below as well. If you'd like to listen to it, or if you'd like to be part of the replay crew, please have fun with it. You can watch us make fun of each other in color. I was going to say in 3D, but we're not there yet. Maybe never. Now we're not doing 3D. We scrapped that. Okay, so.
Well, now that Apple has sold a mixed reality headset, what does virtual reality and augmented reality applications? Maybe we could look at
we should
3D video again.
We could scrub this whole sitting in front of our computer. I'll be sitting in the living room, with everything. Yeah,
I'll be on a boat. I'm on a boat.
Oh, the
there you go. 3D. I'm on the mother flipping boat.
No, I'm with you. So be safe, everybody. Take care. Thank you very much for the support. And of course, thank you for hanging out with us on this beautiful Thursday. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Best of Our Week. Take care, everybody.